Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Upper St. Clair Panther Stadium for another season of Upper St. Clair football. Ironically, it is senior night, despite being the first game of the season. It is also the home opener, and when football season starts, there's always a reason to be excited, especially in Upper St. Clair. I am Gavin Williams here once again. I am joined by a Upper St. Clair graduate, a standout at Dartmouth as well, a quarterback, and now back in Upper St. Clair as a resident, which is really an awesome thing for me personally and for the township as well. Alex Park. Alex, thank you for joining us again this year.
Hey, thank you, Gav. Always great to be back.
All right, so let's set the scene for you a little bit. There's always a little bit of uncertainty in opening day. I can tell you from a coaching perspective, you're never feeling great. You might have the best team in the world coming back, but until the lights come on, you don't really quite know what to expect. Can you reflect back on some of your opening days, particularly as a quarterback?
Well, I had two very different opening days. My junior year was in a tough battle with the senior, and Coach Render announced who was going to be the starter the week of the first game. So it was pretty much split reps up until that point, and then heading to Penn Trafford, that first week. And then my senior year, as an established team, you really got to be, in sync with a lot of receivers, the run game. And, St. Clair is a very unique situation this year between these two quarterbacks, Julian Dallum and Ethan Hellman. Last year, Gavin and I had the pleasure of seeing Ethan's first start, and I have heard he's getting the nod this evening.
Yeah, I mean, Ethan Hellman is a really interesting story. He's obviously a fabulous quarterback. He showed unbelievable poise last year and really guiding them to a Whippeal Finals appearance. But Ethan's had some back trouble this offseason. He's a really strong basketball player as well. He was kind of shut down for a lot of the summer, has picked it up the last few weeks, and I really, assuming he stays healthy, predict big things for him. I think the interesting thing is going to be some of the other names that we're going to have to call out tonight, because they lost pretty much all of the skill players. And so when you start to think of the Upper St. Clair roster, some of the names like Aiden Besselman and Jamal Brown, some of the big names in the last couple of years, are not here. Alex, do you want to sort of describe some of the guys who are here who we should be looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. St. Clair's real strength right now is in knowing their interior. Marco Caroni, he's doing a really nice job, and he's a big 6'4", 270-pound offensive defensive lineman. And then Nate Stoll, Gav, you described him earlier as someone who, once he steps between the white lines, is ready to do what it takes, but off the field he's a real nice guy, and truthfully that's the ideal Upper St. Clair lineman. So I'm really hoping that the experience on the offensive line can carry the inexperience on the perimeter, but Mason Chambers is leading the running back by committee. And then Van Helman's back, who's sort of a tight end linebacker hybrid.
Yeah, and I think another guy to talk about that I have a feeling you're going to see in a lot of different roles this year is the junior receiver / quarterback / slot, Julian Dallum. He's a guy who, the bottom line is, you want the ball in his hands. He's a playmaker. He's a really competitive kid. He was outstanding last year in a variety of roles. I expect Julian Dallum to be a guy who really shows out this year.
Absolutely, and we've seen him succeed in a number of roles during his short time at Upper St. Clair. Reminds me a lot of like a Pete Coughlin, Pat McShane type. He can, shut down the leading receiver on the opposite end, as well as take snaps or just catch the ball in the backfield. They could snap it directly to him for a little wildcat action. So excited to see what Coach Junko has in store for Julian.
Here comes our Panthers. It is a blackout tonight. They are in their all-black uniforms and looking very, very sharp. I'm also thankful because those numbers are way easier to see. I have to apologize ahead of time if there's some number adjustments. I was at the scrimmage last Saturday, and it turned out the kids were all wearing different jerseys than their actual jerseys to not give anything away in the scouting situation. So if I'm a little confused maybe for a quarter, I apologize ahead of time. That is why. But this Panther team does not have a lot of experience, but they do have some experience in key spots, Alex, and I think that's important. On the line of scrimmage, there are some key guys that you mentioned who got a lot of reps last year. The quarterback position is a place that got a lot of reps last year. And another one that we should talk about is the kicking game. You have an outstanding senior kicker in Bennett Henderson who's as reliable as they come. He's about as good as I've ever seen at St. Clair. And a punter, Jacobo Echeverria, he has a leg like I haven't seen around here very frequently.
I was at work today and got a random text from my mother, and it was the Trib Live article. And they had voted Bennett Henderson the number 1 kicker in the Whitfield. So shout out Lisa Park. She knows her ball and still follows to this very day.
So here are our captains for the Panthers. From left to right on your screen, you have Evan Taylor, number 21. He's a running back, a diminutive kid who can really cut. You will see him some. Mason Chambers, who Alex already talked about, he'll be the bell cow in the backfield, number 5. Number 19, Marshall Howe, who's probably the special teams captain. He'll also will show out at some receiver spot. And I'm trying to see who the other guy is. I think that's probably Marco Carone, number 78. Marco Carone he'll be sort of the anchor on both sides of the ball, has some offers from some schools like Navy. Just an absolutely fantastic kid. I coach him in hoops, and really high character.
And if you look at the past successful Upper St. Clair teams, as far back as I can remember, 2006, the strength of that team, offensive line. Obviously, they had a lot of great perimeter players, but a lot of great offensive linemen from left to right. Then you go back to the 2011 season, one that I'm a bit biased with, given the 2 Park brothers on the offensive line. But they made it to Heinz Field, and again, they had a lot of talent on the perimeter, but that allowed them to grow because of the strength in the trenches. And then last season, making it to the 5A Whitfield Championship, the strength in the interior is really what gets you through those bumps and bruises at the beginning of the year. And tonight, we're going to see a lot of false starts. We're going to see a lot of penalties. And these teams are still learning each other and identifying who they are and what it takes to win. So I'm excited. The sun's going down, and it looks like high school football to me.
Yeah, hopefully it's gotten a little less muggy. It was really hot. Alex and I were on the field before the game talking to some of the coaches. It was muggy. You worry about cramping and things like that, particularly as the first game goes. But, it's I think it's a little cooler now, and get to see some former Panther superstars there down on the sideline as well. You got Ethan Dallum down there in from Case Western. I don't think they play tomorrow. You have Cody Marn, one of the star receivers from last year's team, who's at John Carroll playing, and you have, it looks like, Mark Banbury down there, who's attending prep school.
Yeah, and then
I love how they're back supporting, man.
We got to see Mitch Fawcett, who was a great receiver / returner / do whatever you want out of the backfield, and then a married couple, a power couple, Matt and Brittany Kikta with their daughter Hallie. They stopped in, they saw Coach and Mrs. Render, and that was really great to see. So it's great to be back.
It really is wonderful. It's one of my favorite things about this program. When I was watching them set up the inflatable tarp behind the stadium, Mike Fowler was back there doing it, class of 95, John Stein, class of 95, and Reed Perrine, class of 95. And it's just one thing I love about this program. All right. From right to left on your screen, here are the Panthers in black. Bennett Henderson to kick it off. The Knights are in their road whites going from left to right. And we're off, and Bennett kicks it deep. That's a really strong kick way through the end zone, almost out of the end zone. And it's a good thing, Alex, because number 2 there, you see in white, Jackson Pons for Norwin. He's a really fine athlete. He's going to Miami of Ohio. He's a good hooper as well. You want to keep the ball away from him.
And for those counting at home, we've been on the stream for 10 minutes. Gavin has mentioned basketball twice. So we can, whoever wants to do that count at home, feel free.
I'm sure some of our loyal fans probably have bingo cards for the stuff I say a lot and some of the repeat. And one thing is to talk about basketball. So I'll also be giving Coach Render and his wife Pam some shout-outs. They're next to us. That's something I like to do during broadcasts as well. All right, so Tristan Tavares is going to be the guy, and they are lined up in looks like a spread with Pons is wide to the left, one-on-one, and then 3 trips right. Tavares takes the snap. It's going to be a handoff straight to the middle. Oh, good stick. Somebody filled the hole there beautifully. I got to figure out who it was. That's number 44. That's the senior, Cam Phillips. His dad, DJ, is a Panther legend and our physician, and he ought to be proud of the way his son filled the hole there.
Absolutely, and it's important to kind of watch how Norwin's offense is moving this first drive. They utilized motion to try to detect what kind of defense Upper St. Clair was playing to start.
All right, this is Tavares. He takes the snap. He's looking downfield. The pocket collapses a little bit. Now throws it to the sidelines. He hits the receiver. That's number 1, Jake Knight. A gain of about 6, let's say, and it's going to set up 3rd and 4. Alex, let's set the scene here in terms of who we've got. We've got the junior Brock Gillespie at the nose, Marco Carone, the senior, and Nate Stoll are the line of scrimmage. Cam Phillips, 44, the linebackers. We got Mike Albert in the middle, 87. Here comes the handoff. Nope, fakes it. Good coverage, but it is a completion. And that is Jackson Pons, number 2. He's going to be a tough battle, but that was really good coverage by Zach Salapow, number 3. Oh, no, excuse me, that was number 9, Bryce Jones. But first down, Knights. and they go fast. Running back up the middle, Phillips again, but he bangs forward for about 2. What are you seeing, Alex? Fast pace here.
Very fast-paced. One thing to keep an eye on is the snaps have been a little bit low. You never know exactly how that's going to play out as the pace of the game gets increased.
I feel like everybody's running pistol and shotgun now. It's like I've always thought, especially early in the season, there would be exchange issues, but some of these teams are sharp, man. All right, that's Marco Carone in there, big 78. And John Banbury, the 9th grader, is playing linebacker number 6. If you remember the name Banbury, he's the 3rd of 3 that have gone here, the 4th of 4 outstanding brothers. He is a freshman, but boy, let me tell you something, he is a tough kid. All right, 3rd and 4 here. See if the Panthers can get a little bit of heat on here. It is another low snap, and now they got movement here. That's just what you talked about, Alex, the pre-snap stuff.
And that's tough, too, just because the way that Norwin has been playing offense, they've been spread out, and their splits on the outside have been so wide that Upper St. Clair has really been forced to play a 4, sometimes 5-man box, and that's why the Norwin Knights have had success in the run game so far.
All right, setting the rest of the scene. Mike Albert and Banbury at linebacker along with Van Helman, 23. You got Julian Dallum, number 2, and Gianni DeSora, the junior, number 0 at the bottom of the screen, and Brett Minert, number 1 at the safety spot. 3rd and 9. Snap goes back. Tavares is back to throw. The pocket collapses, and that is big 78, Marco Carone. Nate Stoll, 58 off the right end. Got pressure, forced him up in the pocket, and Carone cleaned it up.
That was a really great job by the St. Clair defense. Obviously, it's difficult. First drive of the season, not a lot of tape on Norwin. And for St. Clair to be able to stop them on 3rd down and long, that'll be great.
So this is Evan Taylor, number 21, the senior, back to return. I can't see the number here punting for Norwin, but snap is true. Oh, boy. Almost got it there. It's going to take it. Uh-oh. Did that hit him? I couldn't tell. That may have hit him. They're going to have a conference here, but if that hit him, that's a Norwin football.
Now, the only scenario where this wouldn't be Norwin football is if it did touch a Norwin player prior, and it looks like that's the case.
Okay. So it touched the Norwin player first. I got it. Charlie Bywalski, the junior receiver, almost got in there to block that. He's also a guy you got to watch on the offensive side of the ball. Good call. That's exactly what they said. All right, so let's set the offensive lineup here. Ethan Hellman, as we talked about, the sophomore quarterback.
And it
Mason
looks like
Chambers.
Dallum's playing the slot. He's like that Braxton Miller conversion back in 2013.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you got Phillips, Dallum, Bywalski, and it looks like this might be Bryce Jones, number 9, to the bottom of the screen. Here comes Mason Chambers up the middle. Good surge forward, gets about 3.
Great push by the left side of the offensive line.
Yeah, that's you have Carone at left tackle, Stoll at left guard. That's probably where they're going to end up running a good bit. Mason Geyer, the sophomore, is at center, that's going to be a tough assignment. It's Chambers again. He got a big hole here. Good blocking down the field from Julian Dallum with the receiver. Chambers turns the corner across the 50 to the 46. Great job by the Panther line again.
Great job by Mason Chambers bouncing it to the outside, riding his blockers to the right. Gav, we just crossed over the 50, and with Norwin playing that low safety, I wouldn't be surprised if Coach Junko takes a shot over the top right now.
Got to give a shout-out to the right tackle, junior Bobby Fleckenstein, my main man. Great block there to seal the edge. They're rolling out. Hellman looking. He's looking. He floats it to, couldn't tell whether that was to Dallum or to the sophomore speedster Bryce Jones, but incomplete pass.
Yeah, and a smart play. You don't want to force anything this early on in the game. It feels like that St. Clair has momentum. They probably did try to take a shot on some kind of rollout play action there. Looked like some kind of flood concept where you read from the top down.
This is a pretty good line for the Panthers. We've talked about Carone, we've talked about Stoll, we've talked about Brock Gillespie, who's at the right guard. Michael Albert, the tight end, is a monster, huge in the weight room, and an athletic kid as well. Here's Chambers. We got a flag down. Good fill in the hole, but Chambers bounces off him and makes about 2 or 3. I couldn't see what the flag was.
Well, based upon the timing of it, it might be offsides or just like a legal formation.
Yeah, it was very quickly after the snap, so you're probably right. Trying to see what he's scheduling here. Yep, good call. Legal formation on the offense. So as we talked about, we're going to see this stuff, in week 0 or week 1, whatever you want to call it. You're going to see the pre-snap penalties. You're going to see some mistakes, getting things ironed out.
And truthfully, that's almost baked into what the play calling is going to dictate. you're going to get your second and longs. You're going to get your third and mediums. But the key is not making the same mistake twice from a mental perspective.
So 2nd and 15, probably not where you want to be behind the sticks, but here comes Hellman. Oh, and he's got a man in the slot. It's Charlie Bywalski, number 8. Oh, it was right on the money. He just couldn't quite bring it down. Pretty good throw from Hellman.
And truthfully, with the corner trailing and the safety being above, Antonio, that was a really great throw by Hellman. He didn't put too much air under it. It was a level 2 ball, and just unfortunate.
Sideline warning on Norwin. No harm, no foul at this point. Want to give a shout out to my man Harry Durenzi, one of my biggest supporters. Not really a St. Clair guy, but just a great guy in general. One of the biggest Pirates fans I know. Harry, thanks for all the support, buddy. You're my man. All right, so 3rd and 15 here for the Panthers. Again, you want to talk about a situation you don't want to be in, this is it.
Well, we're really close to the 50-yard line, Gavin, so if you can get half, then they are maybe in a position where they can go for it on 4th down.
And Mike's been very aggressive doing that in his tenure. Fake to Chambers. Scrambling out. Hellman's got some time. He throws downfield, and there is Julian Dallum. And they've got, it's right at the lead stick.
They're going to mark him right on it.
It is really close. Looks like they got it. Great stuff from Julian Dallum to get right at the stick on a crossing route. And that's some ad-libbing by Ethan. Beautiful stuff.
And a great job. That's where playing quarterback comes into play. That play wasn't designed to go to the left. Hellman scrambled out left. Dallum understood that he needed to move with his quarterback, and that resulted in the 1st down.
And you don't have that many Julian Dallums. Wherever he is, he's just such a great athlete. Mason Chambers going off left tackle again. Boy, Norwin committed a lot of guys to the box there.
They did, and I think a lot of that was due to where the ball was positioned on the hash. In high school, the hash marks are further apart than college and the NFL, obviously. And to the field, they were split out rather wide. But if you look at the bottom of your screen, there's a lot of congestion. So running into the boundary at the high school level can be difficult at times.
But they still got about maybe 1.5 or so. You want to keep, we've talked about this many times, you want to keep getting chunks and moving the sticks. You don't want to get behind the sticks. But Ethan Hellman is a weapon. They have the ability to get plays in bigger chunks than maybe they have historically.
Positive plays in positive territory will be very important.
All right, fake to Chambers. Oh, man, right up. Oh, that's just a tremendous.
And
He's got a lot of room here. Here comes Hellman down the field. I'll tell you what, that was pretty late, given that it was the quarterback, but that's a really athletic play.
It really was, and the maturity to not panic. A lot of the times, young quarterbacks will turn their chest to the defender and try to make the defender miss. Hallam used the momentum of the defender and scrambled out away.
He just has fabulous instincts. The Pete Coughlin comparison that you made with Dallum, there's some similarities there with Ethan. He's more of a classic drop-back guy, but the instincts you have to make a play like that, that's just something you either have or you don't. He has it in abundance. All right, so we got another 1st down, moving the sticks. We're at the 25-yard line with 6.5 to play here in the quarter. Chambers banging up the middle. He got a bunch. He got about 4. Pretty good surge from the Panther line here. This is exactly what you want to see, Alex, I would imagine, in terms of sort of sustaining an early drive.
Absolutely, and they're probably in field goal range right now with Bennett Henderson. So
no question.
That's always a nice little crutch that you'll have as an offense. But
all right.
But the safeties are playing down, Gavin. If they get some kind of post corner.
Chambers, boy, he's look at him falling. You want to talk about following his block? Brock Gillespie, the junior, pulled from the right guard spot. He just followed him right over and got almost to the lead stick.
And it looks like they're subbing him out for the freshman Banbury. It looks like he's going to get a couple carries in the backfield.
I'll be honest, the coaches may have been a little close to the vest. I only talked to him a little bit this week. I didn't see John Banbury getting this much love early on, but John Banbury, much like his brothers, is as competitive as you can be. 9th grade, and he's a tough kid. 3rd and 3 inside the 20-yard line. Oh, and he drew him off sides. Beautiful hard count from Hellman.
And that's what a veteran offensive line will get you. That discipline is huge, especially in those 3rd down and shorts.
Tell you what I'm impressed with so far, Alex. Sophomore at center. And Mason's a great kid, okay? Smart as he can be, tough as he can be. He's a hooper as well. And impressive, your first game as the center.
And personally, having talked with Oz, who was a starting sophomore center, that's some tough stuff. You really got to be intelligent and physically ready.
Here comes Johnny B. Trying to cut. Oh, nice little cut. Look at Nate Stoll trying to drive the pile forward, but he got about 6. That's a nice first run for Johnny Banbury.
And it's drives like this where 10, 12, 15 play drives, especially in heat and humidity that we're experiencing right now, that's going to really take a toll on the Norwin defense. And it's giving, I mean, I know it's not necessarily the same because a lot of these kids play both ways, but it's just going to be a real demoralizing score if we can punch it in.
And it's a hot night, as we talked about. It's muggy, and you can wear people down. You're right. I mean, these are not the Mount Lebanons and the Seneca Valleys of the world. These are smaller schools in terms of a lot of kids are going to play both ways. So 2nd and 4 from the 7. Mason Chambers back in, although I think Banbury lost his helmet. So Mason, nice fall in his block. He's banging it. Gets down to about the 4. Didn't quite get the first down, but I think that's okay because you're going to have a 3rd and very short.
Josh Helmrich has let me know that the basketball count is up to 3.
Well, Josh Helmrich, who I also coached in the sport of basketball, that's 4, will be happy to know that John Banbury is going to be a heck of a hooper as well. So that is 5. All right, 22, Beck Shields. Beck Shields, he's a sophomore. If you've ever seen Beck Shields, I swear to God, I thought the kid was 20 years old when I saw him upstairs once. He's put together for a kid who's probably 16. And Evan Taylor in the game. And it looks like the Panthers are going to use timeout. They had a bunch of different guys coming in terms of maybe a different personnel, and call timeout to get it settled. So, Alex, what do you expect to see here, man? 3rd and 1 from the 4. The drive's been pretty successful, being a little more vanilla, but you expect something tricky here or what?
I really don't. I think with the experience, especially on the left side of the offensive line, I think they're going to line Chambers up, run some kind of stretch ISO, mid-zone to the left side, and if they do it out of the gun, they may give Hellman the opportunity to pull and read that C-gap defender. If they really want to get a little fancy with it, maybe here's where you insert Dallum into the offensive backfield to give that dual threat.
I'm sure they have quite a package for him doing different things. Do they want to use it in week 1? Maybe not. For a coach who didn't even want our guys to wear the same uniform numbers in the scrimmage, you may want to try to be as vanilla as you can for week 1. Not showing too much, but you got to win the game first. So now we got Banbury in the game, but Evan Taylor is the back.
So just based upon his profile, I wouldn't necessarily rule out something to the outside, maybe some kind of like pistol screen pass where the back runs parallel to the field and you just get your offensive lineman out there and block for him, but we'll see. It looks like that. I actually might see a QB sneak here. It looks
interesting. Marshall Howe, 19, has checked into the game at the receiver spot. Now it's exactly what you talked about. It's that, literally, and Evan Taylor is in for a touchdown. It's the exact play you talked about. And it's nice to see the senior on senior night. His first carry of the season finds pay dirt for 6 for the Panthers.
And that's a great drive. That's an outstanding start to the season. You didn't see a lot of mistakes on the drive. There weren't any near turnovers. And truthfully, we don't know what type of team Norwin is going to become over the 10-game season. But historically, St. Clair's going to face some teams down the road where they have to maintain these types of drives, and that was a great start to the year.
Do you think there's something to be said, and this may be totally a out of left field type question, is there something to be said for a drive like that took up time, that took up some punishment as opposed to, some quick strike one play? Is one more demoralizing than the other? Or?
I think if you asked any player who put their hand in the dirt, they would definitely agree that long 10, 12, 15 play drive, it's demoralizing for a team and for a defense.
Well, so my captain last year, Nick Zakernik, who's at W&J right now, said he'll take the over on 10.5 on basketball mentions. So it does look like some of our viewers out there are betting on
counting.
some of the lines. And look, I'm predictable. There's no question. Anybody who played for me like Nick did knows that I tend to repeat myself a lot. So I think he's probably right.
Yeah, but so this game's interesting for me just because my wife and her family are from Norwin. And, my wife's a Norwin graduate. I know she's watching. Shout out Carissa, and her mom Becky is watching out in Irwin. So I think Carissa said if Upper St. Clair wins, I get to play like 72 straight holes of golf, and so we'll see what happens.
And I want to thank Alex's entire family for allowing him to carve out some time to do this. It's always a pleasure having him here, and to my wife and family as well, who continues to let me do this despite now having 2 kids. All right, the kickoff is short this time. Denny takes it. He's going all the way across the field. Ooh, there's some good blocking there. He gets to the 30, 35, and Henderson has to push him out of bounds. They did a nice job setting up that return.
We do have a flag on the 30. You never know, and it's so tough because the kicking game these days is never live. You're not practicing live kickoffs. You're not practicing live kickoffs in scrimmages. It's very difficult to try to get that right, and especially when you have there we go.
I have to imagine when a kickoff return is sort of set up to come one way and he cuts all the way across the field and you sort of have to change your blocking up, that might be a situation where you probably would be likely to see a hold. Although I shouldn't surmise that wasn't the return scheme. I don't actually know that. But if Norwin had sort of really good field position there, and now they're backed up to the 20, so that's a bit demoralizing, but good news for the Panthers. All right, so the second series here for the Knights. They got a first down last time, but couldn't move it past there. Fakes the handoff. Caron's there. Oh, that's filling the hole is Cam Phillips again, and Cam Phillips is laying the wood so far early. No gain there for the Knights.
Yeah, and that was a zone read type play. Everyone stayed home, and the tough part is maintaining your gap during that. You want to chase who you think is going to be the ball carrier. You can't guess. You have to stay home.
All right, so the Panthers have a new safety in here, and it's sophomore Nico D'Orazio, who's an excellent athlete. Some guys are going to shift. You're going to try some guys in some new spots in week 1 and see how it goes. All right, fakes the handoff. They're looking down the field. Now it's a quick out, and that's going to be about, let's say, a 7-yard gain or so. No, maybe even a little more, maybe about 8. So good, really good positive gain for the Panthers.
And Norwin was gaining momentum. Tavares looked good. He played a ton last year, and that game experience is invaluable. So I wouldn't be surprised if he had some success. He seems like he has a good hand on the zone read, so we'll see what's going on.
3rd and 1. All right. Boy, it looked like a little forward motion there. They're going wide. Cam Phillips blew it up again, and it's did Van Helmen. They're going to go backwards, and boy, right now the Panther down linemen are getting great penetration, such as Coronin, Stoll, and Gillespie, and Cam Phillips is really having a heck of a first quarter here. So it's going to force a punt. Boy, Alex, do you question the call there, something that was a little delayed or whatever, and trying to go wide rather than trying to pop it up for quick one?
It's tough to tell. They can only do so much as they can scouting. If they saw something, hey, maybe St. Clair has a weakness into the boundary on this down and distance, you'll really never know, and that'll sort itself out.
All right. Norwin punts again. Decent punt, fair catch called for and made. Now that was Gianni DeSora. The junior was back returning punts as well. He's a starting corner, and Gianni is a really slippery kid. He was our JV point guard this year, and he is a very, very shifty kid.
Really nice job catching the ball. Oftentimes, short kick, kids let the ball roll. He probably saved 15, 20 yards on that punt just by making the smart play and making the fair catch.
The one thing I'll tell you about Gianni is he plays 100 miles an hour, and he's never afraid. That is one thing I will tell you.
To wear number 0, you kind of have to be. Am I right? You can't just. If you were me, I couldn't have never worn 0, and I know you couldn't have.
These kids love the single-digit jerseys. They love them nowadays. It's kind of the in thing. All right, Banbury back at tailback.
Flea flicker.
And they got a guy. This is Bryce Jones, the sophomore, who can absolutely fly. Pitch and catch, 60 yards, touchdown for the Panthers. Wow. Forget about the vanilla stuff, Alex.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful throw. And that was really well executed by the running back. I didn't necessarily see who pitched the ball backwards, but
Banbury.
The closer you can get to the offensive line on that type of play, the more commitment you're going to get from the different levels in the defensive backfield.
Alex, it's funny. Bryce Jones is a kid they've talked about for a while. He's not a very big kid. He's listed as 5'10", 165. I'll be honest, I don't think he's 5'10", but they say he's about a 4'5". And, if the coaches are saying that, you tend to believe it more than, kids thinking, no, his kid's a 4'3". And he just blew by him.
Well,
I mean,
he had enough time to look back, and anytime you have enough time to look back when you have the ball in your hands, that's fast.
We got 2:05 left in the first quarter, and this is kind of the dream start if you're an Upper St. Clair coach. This is the way you draw it up. They've only allowed 1 first down. They have not turned over the ball. They've committed only a couple penalties, 1 long sustained drive, and 1 splash play that they executed perfect.
And the more that St. Clair is able to control this game with their fundamental play calling, the less they have to expose that's going to be on film for the weeks going forward. I remember our first game my senior year, we had a lot of success in the pass game, but we were only doing certain things, and while we weren't a big team that would throw slants, I remember we had a play called Cardinal Choice where I could, talk to the outside receiver, the outside lone receiver that was singled out, and Coach Render had told me, hey, let's call some slants just so that we get it on film so that those outside linebackers can't necessarily fly out to the flat. And the more that Upper St. Clair tonight can continue to control that interior, the less they're going to have to show.
So interestingly enough, Jacobo Echeverria Lozano was the place kicker there on the kickoff, and much like Bennett did on his first kick, kicked it through the end zone for a touchback. All right, so the Panthers are back on defense. The Knights will start at the 20, and let's see if there are any different guys in on defense. Now Charlie Bywalski is in the game. He's the receiver that we saw some. He's playing in a slot corner position. I think they're giving Dallum a blow. Minard is back in at the safety spot. Bryce Jones is once again at the far side boundary corner. Otherwise, pretty much the same kids. We still have Albert, Phillips, and Hellman. Still have Gillespie, Stoll, and Marco Carone on the down linemen. So, be interesting to see if they try to get Pons established or try to get him the ball maybe down the field a little bit.
Yeah, he's been quiet.
They're going
this
deep,
evening.
and they got a man, and he is open. And he's got it. Boy, they ran the slot guy straight down the field. That's Jake Knight. Hellman looked like he expected to have some sort of help over the top and did not. And that's a big gain for the Knights, a big momentum shift all the way down to the Panther 37.
It's misleading because that was a smash concept, but not your traditional smash concept where you have the hitch and the corner route. Sometimes the inside receiver will run a go, and there'll be no safety help because you can see St. Clair's playing a low safety tonight.
That was impressive. Really nice throw, sophomore to sophomore there for the Knights, and they had no momentum before that. Now they've got some significant momentum deep in Panther territory. Now a quick out, and he airmailed that one a little bit, was looking for Luke Denny again, just overthrown, and Julian Dallum coming back into the game.
So I'm starting to get a sense for what Norwin wants to do. That was actually a called run play, but away from the run, they actually have what's called open access. So number 5,
that's Denny.
Luke Denny, he actually has a hitch. If it's press coverage, he's going to run a go route. But anytime the quarterback, Tavares, sees that open access, the DB playing off, he has carte blanche to make that throw.
Now it's a little end around. Oh, crackback on Bywalski, and he's got some room here. He's going to get a pretty big gain.
We got something going on.
You can't do that. I thought you can't do that peel back block in high school football anymore.
You definitely can't. I don't know if that's what they got because it wasn't a full extension. I feel like there was some stuff going on in the backfield, maybe just a traditional hold.
So it looks like a hold, yeah. So it was not the peel back block. I gotta admit I don't quite understand the rule and how it's enforced, but it was a hold. I gotta admit I did not see it, but that's good news for the Panthers since that was going to be another first down for the Knights.
I feel like that if the new quarterback hitting rules existed, I would have maybe drawn a few more just based upon my experiences in high school, but just came along a little too early.
Well, do you feel like, I'm not sure this is a fair question necessarily, but do you feel like you'd have been a more effective quarterback at all if you'd have been to be able to be a little more aggressive knowing they couldn't take the type of liberties on you that they used to?
Maybe. A lot of the times we and I did not have success was because of poor decisions. That's what it ultimately comes down to. So I'll take the heat for that one.
All right. They're going down the field again. They got Pons. Oh, that's a great catch. And that's Jackson Pons, and he's going to walk in. Easy does it. Boy, he caught that, a beautiful fingertip catch, and we were trailing the whole way. Durazio had decent coverage, but boy, Jackson Pons is a really dangerous threat, and single coverage on him might be a problem for the Panthers tonight.
Anytime a receiver's running across the field, the defensive back is trailing and doesn't have leverage, that can be trouble, especially when there's no deep third help. And truthfully, Tavares probably was on the cusp of being sacked, did a really nice job stepping up in the pocket and delivering a really catchable ball.
Yeah, so hey, momentum can shift very fast when you're talking about high school football. And give Norwin credit. Sometimes when it's starting to go kind of bad and momentum's starting to go against you, it's easy to sort of let the quicksand hit, but that's a really nice response from Norwin.
And Gavin, that was who we picked up. That was who we kind of circled before the game and said, this is their guy. He's proven it on all sports throughout the WIPIO, and that's really what they needed.
He's a gamer, man. I coached against him, and he's one of those kids that you have to – he wasn't their best basketball player or anything last year, but you had to – like when it was a big shot in a big moment, he wanted to take it. He wasn't afraid to take it, and you thought he was a good chance he'd make it. Those kids are high-character kids, and they worry on the scouting reports. So just got a shout-out from Mrs. Petrini. Love you, Mrs. P. Thanks so much for listening. She's going to have a nephew playing here soon enough. Nolan's a freshman this year, so she's going to be watching these games a long time because Nolan's going to be a great one.
And then,
all right, so Panthers' first kick return here. So we've got Evan Taylor back and John Banbury back. See what kind of kicker they have here, Alex. Not bad. He's going to get to Taylor. Takes it at his own 10.
Oh, they got a lane.
There's a gap. Oh, and unfortunately the turf monster got him. He looked like he had a hole, but they closed it down pretty well.
He did, and it didn't really look like St. Clair had a full understanding of their lanes in terms of who was blocking who. And that was what we touched on earlier, where you don't have these live kickoffs. And a lot of the scrimmaging that's done between teams these days completely omits that from the scrimmage, just to kind of save the kids and make sure no one gets hurt. I mean, I know that I saw some kids in practice who would get hurt just doing like a punt drill. So I understand, but those are the growing pains that you're going to get early in the season.
He's a dangerous sort of runner. I watched him a lot in JV, and I loved it. He had a lot of home runs. He was real sort of shifty. I'll be interested to watch him sort of as the change of pace guy. But Mason Chambers is back as the bell cow here in the backfield. They're going to fake it to him. And they got a flag here. It looks like that may have been a hold, but he goes down as a sack anyway. And that is a big play. Looked like there was a hold anyway on the Panthers, but number 8, Antonio Ruthrauf, brings him down for a loss. So they'll probably take the play. That's about a 6-yard loss.
Yeah, St. Clair they started off in what appeared to be a run formation, heavy base, and then they did a rollout flood concept where you have your go route on the outside, the tight end from the backside fills the intermediate, and then you have a flat route by the fullback. It just never developed, and it looked like it was covered really well.
It was. They had Jonathan Stein, the junior, out in the flat there, but it looked like they predicted it. Sometimes on those bootlegs you get a guy who's wide open. That was not the case there. So 2nd and 19 now for the Panthers, which is obviously not ideal. But here comes Chambers. Can he bust through? He does, and that's a nice gainer. You always talk about that. Get half of it back, and they did. They got about 8 there, so it'll be 3rd and 8, very manageable.
And especially on 2nd down, a lot of offenses try to maintain a schedule of get 4, get half, get the first, and anytime it's doubled, it just makes that much more difficult.
Yeah, we're winding down here. We only got about 35 seconds to go in the first quarter here. It's been a little bit of a long first quarter. Some stoppages, but let's see what the Panthers can do here in their own territory. They fake again. Hellman's running out of time. He's got a guy from behind, and he is sacked again. Just didn't see him coming. He made one guy miss, but didn't have a whole lot of time there, and the Panthers are going to be forced to punt their first time of the season, although my guess is they might let the clock roll down to the end of the quarter here. How the momentum can shift here, Alex.
And one thing I'm keeping an eye on is the wind. Yeah, oftentimes in the beginning of the season, you get these nice nights. You're not seeing as much wind, but the flags are moving tonight. So maybe that's something to keep an eye on with Coach Junko. If this comes down to a kick or a punt to pin Norwin within their own territory, close to the end of the game.
So wait a minute. It's interesting that you talked about the wind. It looks like Coach Junko called timeout with 1 second left here. I'm wondering if he did that because the wind is starting to gust from right to left on our screen, and he wants to punt with the wind. Do you think that's what's happening?
I do. They say the best football coaches are the masters of the obvious, and when you have those tools such as the goalpost flags, why not use them?
Alex, while we have a break here, A typical Mark Roy trolling question wants to know your thoughts on the new Star Wars show, Ashoka?
Ahsoka. So it's clear, Gav, that you're a big Star Wars fan.
No, I have no imagination.
I have not yet seen it, Mark, so, hit me up on Twitter if it's good.
Of course, if we have any alum that's going to ask something like that, it's Roy. All right, so the Panthers are going to punt it, and here's Jacobo, and this dude can really boom it. Didn't quite get that one to turn over. Pons is up, and he makes the fair catch at the 42-yard line, so that will be the end of the first quarter. Our score is the Panthers 14 and the Knights 7 with the ball as we start the second quarter. So, Alex, what would be your takeaway here from the first quarter? Mostly good or what?
I think it has been mostly good except for the past two drives. It almost seems like St. Clair got comfortable, with two dominating drives. Well, one dominating drive and then a quick one-play drive on a flea flicker, and you're starting to see the experience of Tavares and Pons and how they were able to step up and make a big play before the game got too far out of hand.
Yeah, and it's again, there's a lot. They deserve a lot of credit because it's very easy to sort of roll over. And this Norwin team did not win very many games last year, and so you can very easily see this going another way. So credit to them showing great poise. Some of the senior leaders, especially Pons,
and they're young. On the perimeter, they have a ton of young players who have stepped up. Jake Knight's made a few plays tonight. Tavares has made a lot of nice throws. Luke Denny is only a junior. One player that I was made aware of was Aiden Pham on the interior, number 51. So they're a talented team. And any team that can step up and put a drive together like that is for real. And it's even more difficult to stop them when you have some grainy film from a scrimmage where no one's wearing a jersey number. It's difficult.
Got some scores here. Penn Hills takes an early lead against Seneca Valley. Julian Duggar is a real dangerous quarterback, and he's going to be, he's going to be a handful for people. And Pine Richland trails Pickering North. They're playing one of those showcase games today. They're down 7-0 after one.
So, Gavin, if you look at the bottom, it looks like we are stacking Jackson Pons to try to get an extra guy on him.
And they run wide here, and boy, good job filling from number 4, Nico Durazio, but Marco Crone looked like he got held pretty bad on the corner. He's not happy about it, but he got sealed inside. Assuming the block was legal, he got handled pretty good. So Minert's coming back in now.
Got some confusion.
Yep, and they go right up the middle here. Minert comes up and makes a tackle, but not before a pretty big gain. They gashed him pretty good there, and they get all the way in Panther territory to the 45, and they're going fast.
We hadn't called Jackson Pond's name for a while, so now that he's made a big play, he's requiring a lot of attention by the St. Clair defense.
Boy, good, strong run there. That looked like number 30, Jake Sinkak, and he got hit, almost at the line of scrimmage and carried guys forward for about 5 yards. Really strong run there. And what can happen for the Panthers is to get gashed up the middle. Okay, they're spreading it out, but the Panthers have 3 really good down linemen. They're going to have to be more effective there against the run. They're going to pitch wide here, and just as we talked about it, there he is. The most impactful guy they have. Big Nate Stoll, number 58, says, no more of that.
No, and that was big. Now it's a third down. We have a third down and medium, and it's a passing down. St. Clair's been playing that 5-man box anytime Norwin goes 4 wide. And it's at that point it's 5-on-5, and they've been playing man on the perimeter, so it's our best against their best. And
all right, Tavares is going to throw, and he runs out, and it's Cam Phillips, and John Banbury cleans up the freshman number 6, and that's a really nice answer for the Panthers.
And that's the second impressive freshman that we've seen over the past 2 years. Last year being Hellman, now Banbury. That's a very impressive feat to be starting a linebacker in the WPIAL as a freshman.
You'd be hard-pressed to find a harder worker than John Banbury. He's one of those kids that I actually told him to not come to some of my boot camps and things like that because he does enough. He doesn't need that, but he'd do anything you asked. He'd run through a wall. Looking forward to coaching him because he's just so tough. Low kick. Panthers are going to back up and let it hit. And, oh, boy, Gianni thought about going to get that. That probably would have been ill-advised. But I told you, he's really aggressive.
Yeah, and And it almost looked like that had touched a Norwin player, which would have made it
Free ball.
a free ball. So that's an astute play by the junior.
Got to give a shout out to my man Nico back there, once again on the controls, eating his dinner and multitasking to make sure our picture is clear. We have the best guys back here in terms of our staff, Ray Broughton, the team, phenomenal. And I thank them for making my job so easier. But Nico is not just a guy back here in tech. Man can shoot the basketball too. All right, so the Panthers are back in a drive here, 9:46 to go, second quarter, and in the shadow of their own end zone, I might add. Here comes Hellman. He's rolling to his right. It's picked up, and that's just a beautiful throw. That's Bryce Jones again. Boy, he's a quick guy, but credit to Mason Geyer, the center, for picking up that blitz.
That's really difficult whenever the quarterback's on the move. The offensive linemen have to be really disciplined with their gaps, but a great throw by Hellman. I don't think Jones had turned around yet, and he trusted his guy and let that go.
Another great kid in the backfield, Dante Corey, the sophomore now, number 7 is the tailback. He's another really hard-working kid. All right, Hellman rolling left now, and Stoll gets him a nice little throw there. A lot of guys are playing. That's the senior Peter Engel, the receiver.
And that's the second time they've run that exact same play. They ran it to the right. They're running it to the left. I wouldn't be surprised, like we've seen in the past, if we get a stop and go. We're setting that up for the future, especially because, number 4 now, Zach Pauling's playing a little bit off, but there's no safety help over the top.
No, and you got two guys who can fly down here in Dallum and Bryce Jones. This is Corey. Pretty good run. He's going to get a first down there, get about 5 or 6. And Dante Corey, another kid I saw play on JV last year, and the thing I liked about him the most is he was one of those kids who always seemed after contact to go forward a little bit, move the pile forward, kept his legs churning. It seems like they're going to use a lot of backs who all give him something a little different.
Yeah, and he moved really well. He looks like he has a really good center of gravity in terms of riding the blockers, to the field, and that play opened up beautifully. There was not a soul around him for the first 5 yards.
Yeah, he and Durazio are both sophomores. They were both like travel hoopers growing up, really good athletes, competitive kids from good families. And, it doesn't matter when it's this year, okay, we're going to try to win championships, but you can tell the future is bright. I know the coaches, talking to some of the coaches this week, are very, very high on some of their youth. And you can see why. The sophomore class is a very talented class. And, when you're building a program and you sort of almost made it to the mountaintop last year, sometimes you're thinking rebuild. Well, the sophomores have to grow up really fast.
Just want to give a quick shout out to probably the best receiver I played with here, Tim Kikta. He and his wife Caroline and their daughter Evie are out in New Mexico. So thanks for watching, guys.
He could fly. Yeah, I love the great memories that this program has brought me. Tremendous. All right, Hellman's back on first down. Going to throw again. He's got time here. It's an out route. There's Dallum. Nice fingertip catch. Gets out of bounds, but gets about 7. And like I said, we're going to use Jules in a variety of ways here.
Really impressive throw by Hellman to the field. As we kind of touched on before, the hash marks are wider, so those throws to the field are even longer than they would be at any other level. So really great throw and great location.
So 50, Austin Middleton was in there playing a backup lineman. I don't know if it was a 6th lineman or something. Did a nice job here. Here comes Corey to the outside. Nice little run. There's Dante Corey. Big gainer for him. He gets about 10 or 11, and another first down for the Panthers into Norwin territory.
That was a really great job of maximizing what was given to him. He didn't take it too wide initially. He got upfield and then worked out. Got upfield, worked out. That's a very impressive run for a sophomore.
Yeah, shout out to John Stein, the fullback. Did a really nice job on the lead block there. A guy looked like he had an angle on him, and Stein got him. Stein's the product of 2 St. Clair alums that I went to school with, his dad, John, and Stephanie Shields, who was an outstanding soccer player, so he has the bloodlines. Another first down. Here comes Hellman. He's looking down the field. Pocket escapes. He's throwing across the middle.
Ooh.
He's got him. That's Peter Engel, the senior. That's going to be about a 9-yard gain, but Hellman's doing some nice ad-libbing here, Alex.
And that, I could see Coach Render's blood pressure increasing with that throw. He was rolling to his left, turned his shoulders, threw late across the middle, across his body, but when you're an athlete and you can do it, why not?
Coach Render's got to be proud that you still remember all these lessons that he taught you. He's laughing. We'll tell him next break. Here comes Corey. to the outside. He skips a little. Going to be another first down. A gain of about 5 or 6. The line's starting to kick in a little bit here, Alex. He's getting 4 and 5 yards before contact.
And I'm not sure if St. Clair's seeing something that the Norwin defense is lining up in, but every time they've run a play to the outside, the free safety on the other side of the field has been the lane player and has been forced to run halfway across the field to make a tackle, so that's tough.
This is Taylor up the middle, and finally they get a little bit stout there, stop him for a gain of 1. Is that unusual, Alex? I'm guessing that is unusual.
Well, a lot of the times the free safety is going to what they call banana, so they work their way up to the line of scrimmage and then work out to how the defender's running. And if you pitch it and the running back already has a head start, it's the longest length that he has to run.
So no wonder they're not getting him until 5 yards down the field. Okay, here comes Hellman. He's got another out route, but that time little bit of a miscommunication between him and Dallum, and it falls incomplete. So, Alex, this might be what we talked about. We're at 3rd and 9 from the 30, and it's not like Bennett can't kick a 47-yarder. He did it last year multiple times, but maybe this is a 4-down situation.
I think so. Anytime you're approaching that this kick might be blocked range, you don't want that. That can change a game. And right now we're still in a 7-point game. I think if St. Clair gets 5-6 yards, you're still putting Norwin way back in their own zone. And has the wind changed? Is that going to be another factor?
Well, yeah, if the wind's blowing that way, they're probably not going to attempt a 47-yard field goal for sure. Let's hope it doesn't matter. Let's try to get a first down here. He's got Taylor behind him again. Looks like Cam Phillips is his fullback / nut. Now Taylor's going sidecar. They're rolling right again, Alex.
He's got him.
He's throwing down the field. He's got a man. Oh, he just couldn't keep it in play. Dallum had a lot of room there. Just ran out of the boundary. In Hellman's defense, he got popped.
That very true. And his body wasn't moving up the field, which is why that throw fluttered to the right. Anytime you can't get your shoulder squared to where you're throwing that left shoulder for a right-handed quarterback, anytime you can't get that shoulder turned to the target, you're going to see the ball fade one way or another.
Yeah, Sinkak popped him there too. So, okay. 18, Randy Yan in the game now is the wide receiver, the sophomore, and this will be interesting here. They are definitely getting, it looks like they tried to hard count him again. I wonder what they'll do here. Play clock is winding down. I think we're waiting
until the play clock goes to 1, and then we'll get a timeout.
Yeah, it's going to be a timeout. So what do you think here, Alex? What do you do in this situation? Do you try to put it on Bennett's foot knowing it might be against the wind and a long kick and you have that block scenario, or do you put it in Hellman's hands and say, I think we can get a first down here?
Henderson's been kicking since, his sophomore year?
Oh, yeah.
So he has his pregame routine, and he understands, this stadium. And every stadium's different with how the wind blows, where it's located, and how the kicker feels. And if he thinks, basically going into this direction, he has his max. And towards the school, he has his max. So Coach Junko is probably going to come up to Bennett and be like, hey, how you feeling? And if he's like, Coach, my range was X, Y, and Z, then they'll make the decision. I wouldn't be surprised if they had maybe a pooch kick.
Well, that'd be interesting. Coach Render do that. I know that. Coach Render just showed us the text. So not only do we have don't throw the ball rolling to your left, but don't throw the ball down the middle late from Josh Helmrich. So all the former quarterbacks are coming out of the woodwork with all the lessons that Coach instilled in them, which is why we won so many games. No turnovers.
It was fine if it was complete and you won, but if you lost, then that's where you got into trouble.
Yeah, you don't want to be in film. You don't want to be in film session anyway. So it looks like they are going to go for it here, unless Hellman can pooch punt. All right, he's back. Oh man, coming up the middle. He makes a miss again. He makes that first guy miss tremendously.
Give him a
chance.
He's
looking down the field. He's throwing to Jones, and that's going to be out of play. And unfortunately, it seems like they're getting a lot of pressure, whether it's blitzes or not. He did not had a lot of time today.
He didn't, and the receivers need to do a better job of giving their eyes back to the backfield. We didn't see a lot of scramble drill movement. We didn't see a lot of the deep goes short and the short goes deep and moving with Hellman. But like I said, they have the ball on the 30-yard line. It's like it was an average return if we was to be a touchdown or something like that. So
yeah, it just seems like on 3rd and 9 you'd like to throw some 10-yard passes as opposed to going to the end zone both times.
I think the big issue was the play broke down.
Yeah.
I don't think it was
No, I know it
designed to
wasn't.
go to
Yeah.
the right. It looked like there were some in-breaking routes, and anytime you get off track like that, it's tough.
All right, so the Knights back on offense. 14-7 game. This is a little running back screen to the outside. It's well blocked. He's going to get up the field. He's going to get about 8 or 9. Good gain from Norwin. That's 26. Christian Shogun, the fullback.
Tristan Tavares' body language has changed since the first snap of this game. He looks very confident back there now. There was a guy in the throwing lane, and he still made the throw.
All right, so 2nd and 1. Let's see if Norwin tries to do something aggressive here, knowing they only need 1. Now they're going straight up the gut. That's not quite going to be a first down, I don't think. Nate Stoll made sure he did not get much. I think he got about a half a yard there and needs probably one more half. Maybe that's why they didn't go up the middle of that last short yard situation.
So we got to pay attention to what Norwin's doing, because right now they're enabling Upper St. Clair to have a 6-man box. They've had the most success when they've spread them out wide and had a 5-man box.
Yeah, their center is enormous. Bruno, he's 290 pounds listed here. Tavares is going to go up the field. He's got a man. I believe that might be Pons. It is. First down for Jackson Pons and Norwin at the 48-yard, their own 48.
And he commands so much attention. St. Clair DB was playing off Gianni DeSora, just because you saw what he can do over the top. And Norwin's hit a few big plays over the top, and anytime you have one of those 3rd down and 1s and the coach is starting to get a little frisky, thinking, hey, if we don't get this, we can go for it, that's when you take a shot.
And they're going to throw there's Pons again. A little bit overthrown. He had some room again, but you're right. I mean, they are giving him cushion there, and there's probably a couple different ways you can play it, but the Panthers are doing a little bend, don't break, perhaps.
And we saw that in the first game that you and I ever did together on the opposite side. West Allegheny was boxing in what was his name? Pantelis, Dave Pantelis. And so maybe St. Clair makes a halftime adjustment, but one-on-one coverage to the field, that looks tough.
And this is the fullback Shogun again. Good job filling there. He's a strong kid, but he got about 3. But Van Helman did a nice job going up and making sure it was no more than that. And 3rd and 7's a win, I think, if you're the Panthers.
Norwin's showing a 3-by-1 with the side card into the boundary.
He's dropping back. He's got a little bit of time. He's going to run out now. There's Nate Stoll again. There's Cam Phillips wrapped up, and it's a whole horde of Panthers that bring him to the ground. But I'll be honest, they're having a real trouble blocking Nate Stoll right now.
And that was a coverage sack. Tavares was ready to pull the trigger, didn't really have anything, and so the big boys up front got home.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Alex. It's been, they had the big play. They've given up some first downs. It hasn't necessarily been dominant, but you can't really put much on the Panther defense. I think the Panther defense has really done its job. It's hard to stop people these days.
I agree. And 7.5 points with how the offenses play and how many possessions teams get these days, I'd say that's a win.
This is Evan Taylor going to go up. He's going to try to play this. Can he make a guy miss? Oh, that looked like a face mask there, did it not? Well, either way. That could have been really bad field position. He did a nice job fielding that, getting it out to the 13 so they're not sort of in safety territory. And the Panthers will start on their own 13 with 4:26 to go in the second quarter of this football game, leading the Norwin Knights 14-7. All right, Alex, so they've been stopped here, it looks like, I think, 2 drives in a row. Is there any adjustments you think to be made there, or is it just about trying to get a little better protection?
I think the Panthers need to be patient, and they've had a lot of success running those outside zones, those tosses, those sweeps to the field, to the 2 receiver set. I think you make Jackson Pons, who's playing free safety, make those tackles in open field. He's doing a lot of work for their offense. It gets difficult to make those plays time and time again, tackling a downhill runner, and I think they need to utilize the field.
There's that out again. There's Bryce Jones. Because he's so fast, you got to give him a little bit of space. And he got about 6 or 7. That's a good gain on first down. Are you surprised how much they're throwing the ball, Alex?
I'm not. I think they've done both appropriately. They've utilized the space given to them. And it's not like Hellman is in his first career start. He has a lot of experience, played in a lot of big games last year.
There's Banbury, makes one guy miss. They got him in the backfield. He's still going. He got about back to the line of scrimmage, but there was way too much action in the backfield. They shot a couple linebackers in there, and Jackson Pons, the safety, was blitzing. And so now we got a 3rd and 2 here, which is not what you wanted if you're a Panther fan here. Got to figure out a way to pick this one up.
So I don't think you need to do anything terribly fancy here. I don't think that Norwin's going to be pressing. The safety cover or the corner coverage has been off all night. You might just take something easy.
All right, here's Banbury on the corner. There's a lot of Knights there. Can he lean forward and get to the stick? Boy, it's going to be really close.
And that really shows Coach Junko's trust in the freshman running back, giving him the ball on 3rd down and 1 when it's a game.
Yeah, they're really sending a lot of guys there. They gave him the first down. Banbury deserves a lot of credit for the last bit of forward lean there, because he looked like he was stopped short, and he showed great balance and determination to get there.
And now the clock starts to become an issue. It looks like Upper St. Clair has 0 timeouts left. We got 3:31 left, and we have first down. They can utilize the sticks. You get a first down in the high school level. The clock stops, much like college. Work the sidelines, but right now they can still utilize the middle of the field because of that first down roll, because we got 3:31 left. You just don't need it all at once. They can be methodical and hopefully get a touchdown in this drive.
Well, I'm super confused now because the actual referee signaled first down here, and now they're measuring. You'd figure they'd measure before the referee definitively signaled first down, but they're in week 1 too, so. Wow, that was really close.
That was tight.
But hey, all's well that ends well. The Panthers get a first down, keep the drive going. 3:30 to go here in the first half, and the ideal scenario for the Panthers here would be to keep the ball here and get some points. We're still a 1-score game here, and prefer Norwin not get the ball back. So Dante Corey, the sophomore, checking back into the game as the tailback. Going to fake it to him. Hellman's going down the field. That is a long throw, and that is going to be intercepted. Intercepted. That ball hung up a long time, and that's number 5, Luke Denny. And that's a long throw, Alex.
And it almost looked like Hellman got a little tripped up in the backfield. His feet were real close together, not enabling as much power. And he held on to it a little bit longer. That was a post corner route concept. You're hoping to get some kind of pick, and you really want to throw that when the receivers are making that cross. And he waited a little bit too long, and the DB was able to undercut.
So that's another pretty big momentum shift there. That's the last thing you wanted with the time ticking down here. And got a little bit greedy there, tried to go down the field, and it cost them. Now the Panthers' defense is going to have to be stout as the Knights take over in Panther territory here. See what the Panther D's got up their sleeve. That's going to be Pons in motion. They get him the ball, but not much there. Nate Stoll, once again, number 58, was at home. Did they lose the ball? Now the referee's signaling no issue.
And Stoll's been excellent tonight. We've seen his physical number multiple times this evening because he's come through the backfield and turned his body to the ball carrier.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise you. Norwin wants to find different ways to get Pons the ball, but the Panthers didn't seem to be fooled there whatsoever. So 2nd and 9 here for the Knights.
And the key is that it keeps the clock running, too.
Well, absolutely. Tavares is going to throw here. Stoll again in the backfield. He's going to – oh, boy, nice little cut. DeSora couldn't bring him. Uh-oh, this is trouble, and this is going to be a touchdown. Little screen, and the Panthers, DeSora could not quite get him down, and that's Jake Sinkak, the tailback, on a little drop-off pass. And with an extra point to go, this is going to be a tie ball game with 2:30 to go in the first half.
I think that goes to show how Tavares is becoming more and more comfortable, and we forget that he, too, is just a sophomore. You know, we have a battle between 2 sophomore quarterbacks this year, and anytime you can step up, make that late throw to the flat, not over the middle as Coach Render would direct you, but that was a great play, and truly it's going to give Norwin life going into halftime.
Yeah, I mean, the Panthers desperately need to get some points here before the half. Not just because, you want to go in the half ahead. It's more about the momentum here that has shifted drastically. The Panthers were up 14-0 before we could blink here, and it looked like, okay, this may be a laugher. And now we're at a dogfight here, 14-14, and I'll be interested to see the tact the Panthers take here on this drive, Alex. It seems like, I think you talked about being patient. Yes, there's still, there's only 2.5 minutes left, but they're starting to they're starting to get a little aggressive in the passing game and starting to make some mistakes.
Yeah, and you need to start off with a good return. We've seen Norwin's kicker hasn't really been the Bennett Henderson kick it out of the end zone type, so there's going to be an opportunity. You first can't make any mistakes on this kick. You can't have a holding call that backs you up to your 15-yard line, your 5-yard line, your 10-yard line. Stay disciplined, and you can't try to get it all at once. Get some chunk plays, utilize out of bounds, and I think it'll come to them.
All right, so we've got Banbury and Taylor back again to return. Meinert is the up man. And field position may dictate exactly what they do on this drive, Alex. You get it out a ways. Maybe you can run it a few times or whatever. If you don't, you may be getting a little more conservative. This is a pretty good kick. Banbury takes it at his own 4. Across the 20. Oh, he's got a hole here. Here comes Sean Banbury. Oh, and then unfortunately it looks like there was a hold again on the Panthers as well. So what looked to be promising field position for the Panthers, they're going to start pretty deep, it looks like.
And unfortunately, that was what we said can't happen.
Yeah, the momentum shifts have been pretty drastic in this game so far, which is not unusual for high school football. But, they've not worked to the Panthers' advantage here in the second quarter.
One thing I do have to put my foot in my mouth a little bit. I might have spoken a little bit too soon on the bet that my wife and I have about this game. And with the momentum shifting to the Knights, I'm starting to get a little worried.
Yeah, you were hoping to be able to get a lot of golf out of this, but well, so let's see what the Panthers got up. Adversity is going to hit some point during the season, and might as well hit early on and see what the Panthers have. Hellman's back to throw. It's going to be that quick out again. That play has been highly successful. That's Charlie Białowski, the junior. Going to be about 7. I like that call. Now, that makes a little more sense to me.
It's a great start, and that's been available all night, and it's a shorter throw. We're not asking him to make a 25-yard throw that only nets you 7 yards on those out routes to the field. And it looks like that the defensive back for Norwin's playing inside leverage, so that out route's going to be available again.
All right, here comes Corey, and Pons is up, and he cleans that up, and it's going to be a loss of 1 or 2. I'll tell you what, you've talked about this, how the safeties are sort of cheating up at times, and Pons is sort of run blitzing or whatever a lot, it seems like.
Well, they got burned twice on that to both sides of the field, and it looks like the Norwin coaching staff has made a change.
Well, put your best athlete back there and let him loose, and Jackson Pons has been very disruptive so far, as you would expect a kid going Division I. 3rd and 4, it's a big play here. We're inside of 2 minutes. Hellman's back. It's going to be another out route again. He's going to be, does not get his feet down, does Bryce Jones. And the Panthers are going to be forced to punt here with 1:43 to go in the quarter. It looked to be a fairly easy pitch and catch, but the timing wasn't quite there, Alex.
And the tough part is that was a quick drive. Didn't get a lot of yardage out of the shadow of their own goalpost. Norwin has 2 timeouts, and they're going with the wind if they want to kick a field goal.
All right, let's see. So Norwin calls it. That's interesting. I wonder why Norwin called a timeout with the clock stopped. They must have had some sort of formation issue that they thought might be a 5-yard penalty or something to give us a first down. I don't know.
Sometimes when you have 10 or 12 breaking the huddle, you don't want to get that 5-yard penalty. That might have given Upper St. Clair a first down.
Yeah, it looks like it.
So the last thing you want to do is a mental mistake, allowing a team to gain any kind of momentum going into the half. There's also a possibility that St. Clair came out in a formation that perhaps they have not seen before and didn't have the correct personnel for. So I think one timeout might be enough, though. Let's see. I know that our kicking game is strong, and distance is a big part of it. So Norwin has 2 of their best players to receive said punt. Maybe they try a little trickery to get some more momentum.
Yeah, Braden Wells is back snapping, too, which is a help. It's a pretty darn good punt. It's way up there. Pons takes it, does a really nice job bringing it in, and Norwin will take over at their own 44 with 1:36 to play. One timeout left. Seems plenty of time as much as they've thrown the ball, Alex.
And this is a dilemma that a lot of teams face, specifically defensive coordinators. Do you go into that off coverage, not trying to give up the big play, or do you still maintain your aggressiveness? Do you press the receivers with some safety help? I wouldn't be surprised to see St. Clair drop back into a cover 2, but play the corners up to some flat coverage so that they're not getting those easy out routes. But it looks like that Norwin's still spreading them out, and St. Clair's maintained their base defense.
Yeah, it's really worked in the second quarter. I'm not surprised they're continuing it. Pons is the guy number 2. You're going to have to account for it all times.
That's got to be a false start.
Yeah, it was. You called it. It's going to back him up 5.
And since the first drive, the backs and the H-back for Norwin have been doing that lean, and that will eventually catch up to them. Maybe it's given them some kind of competitive advantage. I'm not sure. However, if Tavares' snap count's that predictable, that's going to be a benefit to our defensive line.
Yeah, I thought a couple times the back has actually physically moved forward before the snap, but it's not something that has been called. Another guy in motion. Oh, there's going to be a blitz. That's Albert. So Michael Albert did not get him down, but he totally blew the play up. What happened was he kind of went from his middle to the outside and blitzed from the corner.
And we've seen St. Clair score on big plays, chunky plays. That stopped the clock. And with St. Clair having no timeouts, you want to be able to get an opportunity.
Yeah, well, absolutely. So does your tactic change if you're Norwin here? Do you run the ball, for example?
I think this play will determine that. If they're not able to get half of this, I could see them running the ball and running the clock down.
Oh, they're going down now it's an out. Boy, and there's another penalty.
It's going to be a late hit on Stoll.
Boy, Cam Phillips is just absolutely a wrecking ball. Roughing the passer on Stoll, so that's a gift first down for the Knights, and that is not – you can't have that in that situation. As good as Nate's been tonight, that's a big mistake in terms of you had him 3rd and 11 sort of having to make a decision, and now they're in Panther territory.
Automatic first down, clock stopped, and that half was pretty much over. They were going to run the ball. St. Clair wasn't going to really get it back, and if they did, they might just run it out themselves. Now this is real. They're in positive territory. I wouldn't be surprised if they went to Pons here.
Another low snap here. He's going at – oh, Van Helmen almost got that. He read that out route and almost picked it off.
And the running back stayed in on that play for Norwin, so there was no horizontal threat by the offense, which allowed Helmen to widen and get underneath that out route.
All right, so 2nd and 10, 1:17 to go here in the first half. Norwin driving in Panther territory. Back again. Oh, there's wide open. There is nobody out here accounting for him. That's Shogun, the fullback. And Gianni DeSora brings him down, but he's all the way to the Panther 30. Clock stops on the first down.
And I know that wasn't the most ideal play, but that was a big open field tackle by DeSora. He had no help. If he misses that tackle, that's a touchdown.
So clock is running. We are inside of a minute here. Looks like they're changing the play here maybe. They only have one timeout left, so you don't probably want to use it here, but they're taking their time. Tavares is back. He was looking for the quick out. Now he's looking for the slant. A little bit behind him. He had Denny, but pretty nice job. Phillips and Dallum were there and disrupted it. So we got 40 seconds left here, and boy, this is tight here, Alex.
Yeah, they had a dragon concept at the top of the field, which you get that double slant, and a lot of times you like to get perhaps a pick, and the inside slant runs a little more vertical, hoping to take that inside defender out of the way, that nickel out of the way. Great coverage by St. Clair caused Tavares to double pump and throw off the timing of the whole play.
All right, so back spread out again here for the Knights on 2nd and 10. Tavares is back. Boy, he almost caught that on his knee. They're forcing him wide. That's Stoll. I'll tell you what, Nate Stoll was getting held, and he still brought him down. Are they going to call him down, or are they going to call that an incomplete pass?
They're saying incomplete, but and correct me if I'm wrong, and I know Josh Helmrich is up on the rules and everything like that, but there is no pocket rule in high school football.
I don't believe there is.
And so that should technically be loss of down, intentional grounding, unless they did declare a player within the area.
I'll tell you what, it might be one of those things where they're mad at Stoll because of the late hit, but he got held and grabbed him with one arm and brought him down. Well, anyway, 3rd and 10. Good job on defense there from the Panthers.
And depending on
go ahead.
Norwin's kicker, if they can get 5-8 yards, then get themselves in field goal position, then they might just try that.
It's a long kick, though. The Panthers are blitzing. Oh, boy. It looked like a slant, but I'll tell you what, if that was thrown on the money, Dallin may have it going the other direction. He read that beautifully. So let's see what they do here, Alex. I think they probably go for it at this point. They're not going to – high school kickers are probably not going to kick a 47-yard field goal here.
Unless you're Bennett Henderson.
Unless you're Bennett. But almost nobody has that. And then if you turn it over here, is there really a risk of, St. Clair going the other way? Probably not. So –
I guess not. They have the stacked receivers. My guess is they throw it up deep to Pons on the left side.
Would make sense. He's back to throw, and he ran out of time, but he got out. He does not get the first down. John Banbury did a really nice job blitzing off the wing there, but didn't quite bring him down, but blew up the play, and the Panthers get a stop.
That got pretty close, though. Had he gotten 2-3 more yards, that's a new set of downs. Clock stops. They got maybe 2-3 plays. It appears at the moment that St. Clair's going into the half tied with Norwin.
Bend but don't break. I'll tell you what, Alex, it's not been the cleanest second quarter for the Panthers. They were really clean in the first quarter, which is really a tribute to the coaching staff, given that's really hard to do on your first game of the season. But some of the mistakes that you talked about that are emblematic of week one have really sort of reared their head this quarter.
And I don't know what has happened, but we haven't seen a ton of Mason Chambers after the first drive. And I'm glad to see him back in, but he really dictated the tone that first drive, and hoping to see him again in the second half and get that run game back on track.
Well, Chambers was in there, and that's going to be the end of the first half. It's going to be 14-all as we head into halftime. We're going to let the band take it from here. We will be back before the third quarter to talk strategy when we get back.
Coming up next.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the fine and performing arts of the Upper St. Clair Township Schools, under the direction of Dr. John Seibert, we present the pride of Upper St. Clair, the Upper St. Clair High School Panther Marching Band. Led by drum major Brian McFerrin, we begin with our Queen opener, along with one of Freddie Mercury's most popular songs, Don't Stop Me Now. Drum major, is your band ready to perform? Now, the #1 hits by the British rock band Coldplay, released in 2008, and the winner of the Grammy Song of the Year in 2009. The title in Spanish translates as Long Live Life. Let's bring on Viva la Vida! Panthers. Our first senior is Natalie Cowles, escorted by her parents, John and Kathy Cowles. Next is Tina Dorco, escorted by her parents, Nagaya and Patrick Dorco. Next is David Gus, escorted by his father and mother, DJ and Sherry Gus. Now we have Phoebe Blunt, escorted by her mother, Kelly Blunt, and father, Jay Blunt. Jalen Lakes, escorted by her father, Evan Stockton. Next is Anna Lau, escorted by her mother, Susanna. Our next senior is Charlie Lawrence, escorted by his parents, Edward and Lisa Lawrence. Here's Susan Wood, escorted by her father, Yong Wood. Next is senior Kayla Livingston, escorted by her parents, Brian and Ellen Livingston. Now, senior Anna McCool, escorted by her parents, Josh and Tammy McCool. Next is senior Leah Massey, escorted by his dad, Frederick Massey. Here's senior Sandro McFarland, escorted by his parents, Doug and Michelle McFarland. Ryan McFarland, escorted by his parents, John and Karen McFarland. Our next senior is Arden McPherson, escorted by her father, Chris McPherson, and mother, Debbie McPherson. Gabriel Pachella, escorted by his parents, John and Carissa Pachella. Next to senior Ash Silver Drum, escorted by her parents, their parents, Christina Drum and Ari Silver. Next is senior Alex Sun, escorted by his parents, Salvu and Young Sun. Here is Ridley Shanecki, escorted by her parents, Jeff and Brooke Shanecki. And our final class of 2024 senior, Lauren Tenney, escorted by her parents, Megan and Rick Tenney. On behalf of the staff, students, and parents of the Panther Marching Band, we would like to thank you for your support of the band and all of the performing arts programs in the schools. You make the difference. We are proud to have you on our team. Thank you. Once more, let's give it up for the senior class of the Upper St. Clair Panther Marching Band.
Ladies and gentlemen, how one more round of applause once again for our band seniors. Here are some school updates from around the WVIAL. All of these games on the bottom list have reached halftime. Firstly, outside of the conference, Bickerton North leads Pine Richland at the half, 21-0. Now for in the conference. At halftime, Bethel Park 12, North Hills 10. Mount Lebanon 14, Gateway 0. At halftime, West Allegheny 14, Newton 10. South Bay 28, Shepherd's Valley 7. 35, Brashear 0. Peters Township 35, Fox Chapel 0. And Cannon McMillan and Penn Trafford are tied, no score. Also, ladies and gentlemen, please get out your 50-50 raffle tickets. We have drawn the winning ticket. It is a red ticket. The winner will receive $608. And the winning ticket for the 50-50 raffle is 286299. Once again, 286299. $608 to the winner. If you have that ticket, please head to underneath the Jumbotron and claim your prize.
We're back again here. Alex, the first half was sort of a tale of two quarters, so to speak. Panthers went up 14-0 early. Looked like, okay, we may run away here really clean, and then sort of a mistake-ridden second quarter. Norwin made a bunch of plays, and all of a sudden we're level.
Yeah, and it really was done through the air. Tristan Tavares started off slow for Norwin, but he eventually really caught on and finished the half 10 of 19 for 109 yards. Ethan Hellman, 8 for 15 for 121 yards. Tavares with 2 touchdowns. Hellman with the long flea flicker early in the first quarter. And the run game really got off to a hot start for Upper St. Clair with Mason Chambers running for 46 yards on 9 rushes. And Norwin didn't even have that combined for the entire half. But the real question that I have is what happened to Mason Chambers?
Yeah, it is a good question. I understand the running back by committee, particularly game one. You want to sort of see what you have. And it's not like any of the other backs didn't do a good job or anything like that. But, there is an if it ain't broke, don't fix it element to it. And I feel like, the Panthers sort of went away a little bit from what was working. And, Norwin also adjusted. It looked like Pons at the safety spot sort of was cheating up, blitzing, shooting gaps. And, it's going to be an interesting. The one thing I love about football, it's something I maybe don't understand at the level because I didn't play or coach, but I just love the adjustments back and forth and how you respond. So, okay, in that line, Alex, what would you do if you're Coach Junko right now?
Well, I think the success that started in the first quarter was weighing on your rocks. Nate Stoll, Marcos, Caroni, they were really getting a lot of push up the field, and I don't know what occurred, but they just really got away from that in the second quarter. One thing I am seeing on the sideline is it looks like Julian Dallum has taken off his gloves. So does that mean he's going in at QB?
I don't know. I mean, it's not like Ethan Hellman did anything wrong, really. He made one decision that was probably a little regrettable in terms of that long throw that ended up in an interception, which really was no harm, no foul. But if you go to Dallum, then, are you worried about the confidence? Are you worried about, or do they have a package for him? I mean, I think a lot of scenarios could play themselves out with that.
And having spoken to the coaching staff, I would bring up Hellman, and every conversation that happened with that was, but we have a package for Julian. But we'll see Julian out there tonight. And perhaps it wasn't the correct moment, as you mentioned, with confidence, inserting him at the first sign of trouble. I know that in my career, more so on the college level, our head coach grew up in that Steve Spurrier system where they were rotating quarterbacks in and out in Florida. We did that, and it was tough. You're looking over your shoulder. I hope Coach Junko does stay with Hellman so long as he's healthy and he feels good, but when you're tied up and you were expecting to really run away with this, and it looked like we were running away with this, maybe it is time to make a change.
All right, so Norwin kind of goes shortish again. Goes by. Oh, nice catch there for John Banbury. Getting up, and he makes a nice cut, puts his foot in the ground. Here goes Banbury. He's across the 30 to the 35. Nice return from John Banbury. Good field position for the Panthers.
Yep, no flags on the play. That was a nice, clean return. Good job catching the ball. That thing was squirting around, so he did a really nice job of hanging on to that.
Yeah, he made a nice little cut there. There was 2 good blocks there. Jake Caceres, number 41, the junior, and then Cam Phillips, and it just sort of had the crack and took it.
And Gavin, we have a change.
Wow. It'll be interesting to see if this is just one series or what this is, but here we are, the junior, Julian Dallum. He's going to fake it and gets nothing, so they blitzed hard off the corner there.
And that looked like a miscommunication. The back and Dallum went opposite way, and when you're not getting those first-team reps throughout the week, that's going to happen.
The other interesting thing, Alex, is Julian's obviously more of a threat as a runner than Ethan is, although Ethan is mobile, and Ethan's looking to throw the ball. Perhaps they're looking to make some plays with the legs.
So far, they've had 2 QB runs.
Dallum's still going. That's an incredible run just to get 2 yards, but unfortunately, you're in 3rd and 12.
And one thing to keep in mind, Dallum was a big factor in the pass game in the first half. So not necessarily having him on the outside. He had 2 catches for 22 yards, but that's one first-team receiver that you're taking now out of the equation. And do we have another guy that can step up?
Yeah, Gianni DeSora, number 0, is looks to be the recipient there, stepping in the slot. Jones and Bywalski are the other receivers wide, 3rd and 11. Here comes Dallum. He's rolling. Has a man. It's low, and it wouldn't have been enough for the first down anyway. And if you were looking to get a spark there, but the quarterback change, 3 and out will not do it for the Panthers. They are going to have to punt it away.
Not a good start. The miscommunication on the zone read, which did not allow for any kind of mesh between quarterback and running back. And when you have that, the offensive line is taught to not block the read player, so the A-gap, B-gap, C-gap player. And when there's no one for him to commit to other than the quarterback, you're not going to have a good play.
Oh, and it was a big rush, and that punt was nope. So they're going to call roughing the punter, and that's probably roughing. The Norwin team is suggesting it was blocked, but frankly, I think he just sort of shanked it off the side of his foot. So running into the kicker, it's only 5. The good news is they'll get to punt it again, but because it didn't go anywhere. But it looked like if it was not partially blocked, there was a lot of contact there, and so maybe that was kind of. I'm not sure whether it was partially blocked. I don't want to make a game-changing roughing call. Here's a 5-yard penalty.
Yeah, and there's a chance that it was touched and then something happened after, but that does add 5 yards to the punt. So any positive yardage that you can get prior to the punt is going to be beneficial to the kicker.
Yeah, absolutely. Norwin's been sending guys. I mean, they've been pretty close twice now, so it's something to sort of watch as we go forward here. And he boomed that one. That's a dandy. Pons is going to catch it at about the 28, probably about a 40-yarder, no return.
And I don't mean to be too critical, but the past 4 plays that I've seen coming out of the half for St. Clair have been a little bit sloppy. We had the miscommunication on the zone read. We had kind of a congested rollout on 3rd down. We had a broken play on 2nd down. And then on that punt play that was active, we had players running onto the field late after you had already had the punt operation out on the field. So hopefully, everyone takes a deep breath, calms down, and we get back on track.
Yeah, it might be a case where they thought this was going to be a runaway, and now that it isn't, guys are pressing a little bit. Sort of something you alluded to at halftime. So, Panther defense now on the field. I'll tell you what, Alex, the next turnover is going to be a really big play in this game. Tavares is back again, looking upfield. Now he's going to take off. But he's going to run out of room. Brock Gillespie gets him, and it's going to be an incomplete pass. There was a receiver in the area there if the pocket rule does not exist, so no grounding situation, but good pressure again from Gillespie up the middle.
Gillespie was another one of those names that we were given before the game as an impact interior lineman player that could potentially change the trenches, whether or not that's getting push, whether that means getting pressure on the QB. Showed it off right there in great play.
He's an animal in the weight room, I tell you that much. He and Stoll are animals. All right, 2nd and 10. Van Helman's blitzing off the corner. There's Stoll cleaning it up, but that was that zone read thing, I think. Alex, explain to me what happened there.
Well, one of the adjustments Upper St. Clair may have made is assigning players to players within the zone read. Much like when teams run the veer or the triple option, you're supposed to tackle X. And as long as those players maintain their assignments, it's really tough to run the zone read.
Well, they did a great job there. Hellman took care of business, and then Nate Stoll cleaned it up. So we got 3rd and about 12 or 13 here. Here comes Stoll again. He's got him, and Tavares just had to get rid of it because Stoll was breathing down his neck. Good response from the Panther defense. 3 and out, good pressure each and every one of those plays, and hopefully the Panthers will get good field position here.
Yeah, and you just hope that they don't try to do too much on this punt block. You don't want a roughing the kicker. You don't want to give them anything. And we just saw a running into the kicker. Everyone wants to block a punt. If you're on the punt block team, that's like your dream. So maintain your gaps, stay disciplined. Oh,
high snap. Boy, that's a heck of a punt given that was a high snap. It takes a Panther bounce, and it's going to go out of bounds at about the 35. But heck of a punt there, Alex. That's about a 45-yard net, particularly since he had to leave his feet to catch that.
And
so
Norwin
significant
punter,
credit to Evan Pfeiffer, the punter. That's some beautiful stuff. It amazes me how good consistently so many of the kickers and punters we see now are as compared to, let's say, 10, 15 years ago.
Absolutely. Growing up watching St. Clair, that was always a time where we'd hold our breath, but we've been pretty fortunate to have a lot of great kickers come through Upper St. Clair.
Got a shout out from my main man, Aaron Coe. When you talk about good interior line play, Aaron Coe from the class of 96 down in Georgia, he was a good one. Aaron, thanks for watching, buddy. I appreciate it. Fumble on the exchange. Did Hellman get it back? Well, Alex, you alluded to some of the stuff that didn't look clean at the beginning of the half, and it just sort of continued there.
And just speaking from experience, anytime you rotate quarterbacks, you get cold, you lose focus, you start looking over your shoulder. I really hope this doesn't happen to these kids.
Well, you kind of called it. You sort of predicted it in terms of how that could impact both guys in a really sort of negative way, and you're right. Let's hope that doesn't sort of linger because cannot afford that at this point.
And you don't want it to affect decision-making either. You don't want to make the safe throw when you have an opportunity to make a play.
Hellman going wide. Looks like Charlie Bywalski, number 8, the junior, turns upfield nicely. He got most of it back, so it's going to be about 3rd and let's say 7, but that's going to be a 7-yard gain. They got about half of it. All right, so this is pretty manageable, Alex. Do you think they sort of go back to some of that, the quick out or quick slant that seems to be working with the cushion they're getting?
I think so. If they run that on 3rd down here, they're really going to have to look and be cognizant of the sticks.
Here's Hellman. It is that out route. Did he get it?
He
did. Nice catch from Bywalski. Nice throw from Ethan Hellman. That's kind of a big play, Alex, I feel like, from momentum standpoint.
And it's huge for your quarterback psyche. He did not start the half. He's probably thinking, am I going to get another opportunity? And then on 3rd down and medium, to make that throw on a tough outbreaking route is going to be big.
All right, so let's see if the Panthers get back to the run here. I feel like it's been a while since tried to establish it. And here is Mason Chambers. Oh, they've got a big gap here. Can Chambers turn it up? He does. He got 10, he got 15, he got 20. He's all the way in across the Norwin 35. Big gain for Mason Chambers.
And I think right now you could see Coach Junko on the field. He wants tempo. He feels the momentum. We converted on a tough 3rd down, downhill run for a big gain. Keep the momentum going.
Yeah, John Stein, the fullbacks, doing beasting some folks. Here comes Chambers again. He's getting dragged down from behind. That play sort of looked like it was a little awkward, but still got about 5.
And it makes you wonder what happened to him in the second part of the first half. I mean, he was gouging Norwin the first quarter, and then everything came to a halt. You hope it wasn't cramping or anything with the humidity. The sun's gone down now. It's a little bit cooler. Hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, speaking of that, we had an injured Knight, and it's one of their more active defensive players, Isaiah Francis, 34, who's outside linebacker. I couldn't tell whether that was cramping because you're right, tempo is one of the big weapons that the St. Clair offense has. Now there's that blitz again. So he was in the backfield immediately there, and 44 Jacob Page, big loss.
And one thing that Coach Junko has to circle back with Hellman is on that zone read, 44 is not going to be blocked. That's the player you're reading. And we were always taught, give early, pull late. The more that outside linebacker is able to commit to that run, the easier it'll be to pull and run around the end later.
All right, so this went from 2nd and 5 to 3rd and 10 really quickly, and Norwin's got something wrong on the defense. Did they have 12 men on the field? They did. So going to have to call a timeout, waste a timeout there, which you probably don't want to do in a tie game, but at the end of the day, no harm, no foul. So, again, Alex, we've had this discussion. This could very well be four down territory again for the Panthers, could it not?
I think it is. Unless you get inside the 25 and you do not get a first down, then maybe you start to think about it. But at that point, it could still be, a 42-yard field goal? And do you risk the block? Both teams have been very aggressive in special teams this evening. It doesn't look like there's any type of wind or precipitation or anything to affect the kick. But at the same time, if you can get a 3rd down and 4, a first down on a 4th down like that in a game like this would be huge for momentum and great for your young quarterback's psyche.
Yeah, absolutely true. They seem to have been going again to that out route and to the slant. That seems to sort of be the bread and butter, and wouldn't be surprised if we saw that try to pick up 6 or 7 in the idea of potentially going for it on fourth.
And a big play that they've been running has been the rollout flood concept. You have the out, and that'll give them enough yards to get to the sticks. It looks like they're lined up in the pistol formation, so maybe something out of play action.
So this is Banbury. It doesn't. No, he fakes it to him. This is Hellman's going on the run. He still has it, and unfortunately, it looks like there's going to be either a crackback or a hold on the block on the corner.
But that was another zone read, and we just talked about giving early, pulling late. Coach Junko probably called during that timeout, said, hey, that outside linebacker's screaming off the C-gap. Why don't you just hold the fake a little bit longer and pull and run right off his shoulder? And unfortunately, we had a little bit of a penalty.
Yeah, Norwin's got another guy cramping, it looks like. So we saw the block. Again, I'm not 100% sure I correct. Yeah, see, I'm not 100% sure I understand why some are and some aren't. I just don't think I quite understand that rule. That looked very similar to the one we saw earlier that they did not call. But that's a huge play. I mean, that's a 15-yard penalty.
It is, and they were in that go-for-it range after that run. Yeah. Now it's 3rd down and 25. You could still probably go for it if you hit a chunky play here for about 10, 12 yards. You're back to that 3rd down or 4th down and 10 range, and what's really the difference between giving it up on the 25 versus the 34? So we'll see what Coach Junko has in store.
Yeah, I mean what we talked about at halftime, looking for a little more of a clean quarter, has certainly not presented itself so far. There's been a lot of mistakes in the 3rd quarter. So again, not surprising in week 1, but you want to sort of get better as the game progresses, and it doesn't feel like that's quite happening right now. So, okay, 3rd and 22, still in Norwin territory. Hellman is back, runs out of time. He's going to roll. He throws downfield. Oh, boy. I'll tell you what, he had Bryce Jones, which he had a little space there if he catches it. That's a tough throw running for his life, but almost.
One thing that I'm afraid of is Hellman's beginning to get a little bit loose with where he's throwing the ball. He's rolling to his right, throwing back across his body into the congested middle of the field. That's not something that you can do consistently and have success. We did see him successfully do that in the first half to his left, but the more you begin to take those risks, the more that critical error is going to occur.
Yeah, and like I said, I've mentioned it before, the next turnover is going to be a huge play from a momentum shift. Jacobo punting again. This one's up in the air, not super long, and it kind of bounces sideways, but didn't quite hit it like he wanted to. I know you probably wanted to try to pin them deep. Zach Salapau, the senior, downs the ball at the Norwin 22, and with 6:09 to go in the 3rd quarter, we are still tied at 14. That's where Norwin will take over. Let's see if the Panthers can't get a little pressure on them and force a turnover here, Alex.
Yeah, and if I'm the Norwin coaching staff, I'm trying to emphasize to our team no mistakes within this territory. You don't want to fumble. You don't want an interception. You don't want to back yourself up with penalties. You want to sustain a drive to take the lead.
All right, Tavares, he fakes the handoff. He's looking upfield, and he runs out of room. That's big 78, Marco Carone. Is he cramping? He is cramping. And we saw this coming, Alex. Oh, Mason Geyer, number 70, looks like he's gotten in the game on defense a little bit. So he must be in for Gillespie at the nose, which you're probably trying to avoid some of the guys playing both ways for this very reason, for cramping. But
and that tends to happen right after halftime. You are sitting in the locker room, maybe it's a little bit chilly, you get tight, and then you come out here and you're just drained, especially these big guys in the trenches playing both ways.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it would be really difficult at that size to have to run and chase, and especially against an offense like this that is sort of tricky and multiple. You end up rushing a lot. I think you probably end up running a lot.
And the pace of the game, both of these teams don't huddle. They're trying to get as many plays, possessions in as possible. So this is not surprising, but it's part of the game this early on in the season.
So we've got a Norwin player down. I can't tell if that's cramping or an actual industry, but if anything, it's sort of slowing down the pace a little bit, giving guys a chance to take a breather. I don't think St. Clair would mind that at this point, given the momentum and given the fact that they are playing a lot of guys both ways. That being said, they are playing a lot of different guys. So that they are substituting liberally. As you would expect early on, you're still trying to figure out, once the lights are on, who's going to be your guys, who's going to be your rotation.
And you're seeing a lot of young guys, but a lot of those young guys have been the most consistent. Bryce Jones, he's led the team in receiving. Banbury, he's made a lot of big tackles. He's carried the ball on very crucial downs and taken care of it. Obviously, Hellman, leading the charge at QB. People forget that he's just a sophomore. I catch myself sometimes thinking that he's been around forever, but they just need to tighten up the screws a little bit.
He's such a poised kid. I mean, you do forget. I mean, sophomore. You don't get advanced age. All right, so 2nd and 12 here. We are back to live action after some injury break. And he runs out of room quickly, but he's going to get out of here. He's going to get some gain. And Dallum bangs him out of bounds, but not before he gets about 3. So back just past the original line of scrimmage. It's still going to be 3rd and long.
And this is an opportunity. It really appears that Norwin's going to try to continue with the momentum. I know it's been a bit of a stagnant second half so far, but they went into the half with the momentum. They still have it, in my opinion. And if this is an opportunity for one of the perimeter players to make a big turnover, this would be a great time.
Credit to the Panther front 3, front 4. They're really getting pressure right now. They got to keep that up. Low snap again. Here comes Stoll. He's just getting held horribly. I cannot believe they didn't get a flag on that. So Bywalski gets him, knocks it down, but the fact that there was not a hold call on the corner is criminal there. I mean, Stoll still battled through it. He's not overly complaining, but the Panthers sideline was irate.
And I love his motor. He does not stop, and we've called his name probably the most out of any St. Clair player other than the quarterback all night.
All right, so the Panthers haven't had a chance to really return one so far, whether they haven't had a clean punt or whatever happens. It would be nice to see Evan Taylor get a chance here. It's another good punt, and he's going to have to call fair catch because the gunner got down the field and pretty good. So the Panthers had a chance to get pretty good field position. That's another really good punt from Norwin. 38-yard line your own is not bad here for the Panthers.
No, and I think that Taylor did a really nice job of catching the ball. Often, like I said, so many times you see these kids in high school and college and even at the pro level let the ball bounce, and it just allows for so many variables. Maybe it touches your own man. Maybe it continues on for another 20 yards. So nice job just securing the ball and making the safe play.
Just got a shout out from one of my favorites, Coach Malarkey's watching. Coach, hopefully we're going to get a dinner soon, but if not, thanks for the love, man. It's always great to hear from you.
He helped me with a lot of my college stuff, so I'd probably be not a college grad if it weren't for him.
Now, one of the great people. So, he just tripped him up. I felt like if Corey could have gotten through there, he had a pretty big gain, but unfortunately it's only going to be about a one-yard gain or so.
Looks like Gillespie might have a bit of a cramp going on as well, but he's powering through.
Yeah, that may have been why he was out on the defensive side of the ball the last couple series. All right, so 2nd and 9 here for the Panthers. Hellman throws. There's that out route. It's been there, but Norwin's doing a nice job tackling the catch. They're not getting big gains out of that, but that's Peter Engel, the senior, gets about 5 and very manageable 3rd down.
And it looks like Dallum has settled back in to playing his slot receiver position. I'm sure Coach Junko was just trying to get a spark through the run game, switching it up, maybe something that Norwin wasn't game planning for at halftime.
Wonder if they'd think about getting Dallum the ball on like an end around or something like that at some point. Got to get a 1st down here first, though. Oh, boy, they would look like a bit of a miscommunication, but he was open, and
He was open, and you got to give Hellman a lot of credit in that situation. He had a few Norwin defenders barreling down on him, let the ball out early, but Bryce Jones, little inexperienced, he has to be ready for that ball on 3rd down.
Boy, it just seems like the Panther offense is just a little out of sync and has been for quite some time. I'll tell you what, Alex, they just need to do better on 1st down right now. They need to get in more manageable situations.
And it's blocked.
They got it that time. Fortunately, it's going to take a really nice Panther bounce. They got very fortunate there. It's been close to being blocked 2 or 3 times, and so I don't think that's very surprising. But, again, the sort of the mistakes kind of continue here in the third quarter.
And that, again, is not something that you can really practice for in today's game just because of the live special teams component that you don't see anymore. You know, internally, you're not having your scout team try to block your punt. When you scrimmage other teams in the preseason, you're not having live kicks. It's just tough to emulate.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell because some of the snaps tonight, mostly from Norwin's end, have been sort of an adventure. You know, nothing that's involved in a turnover or anything, but some crazy stuff. So Norwin, again, starts on their own 32, 14-14 tie, 3:38 to go in the third quarter. Tavares, now it's going to be the straight handoff to the fullback again. He's going to bang for it. Oh, he gets a pretty good gain of about 6 there. That doesn't surprise me that they do Shogun there. They've been throwing mostly, and the Panthers have been blitzing so much, it's probably going to try to get some momentum going with the run.
Yeah, and anytime they're like, Norwin appears to have St. Clair's number right now. They're lining up in the proper formations that are spreading St. Clair out. They're getting the matchups that they want. It turns into 5-on-5 or 6-on-6, and Norwin's moving at a pace that St. Clair can't keep up with right now.
Yeah, they're going tempo, and they're just banging it right up the middle now. There's Shogun again. He's going to get only about 2 that time. The Panthers look like they sent some linebackers in, but looks like, yeah, some of the defensive linemen from St. Clair might be getting a little tired.
And as Norwin continues these downhill runs, St. Clair still has to maintain discipline on the back end and not commit and give up the big play.
And that's a big one right there, whether it's a cramp or not. That's Aiden Pham, Norwin's best lineman, number 51. And it'd be interesting to see whether that is a cramp, which it looks like it is. Boy, Alex, we talked about cramping in the opening. I don't even think I anticipated it. We're up in the booth here. It's pretty sheltered, but it was really hot down on the field before the game, and I guess I'm not super surprised.
Yeah, and you hate it because coaches emphasize it all week. They know it's going to be hot. You know, just walking around Pittsburgh today, it was that hot, muggy, post-rain, humid, and you knew this was possible, but you hate to see it happen to kids first week of the season just because, you know, they've worked so hard, they've hit each other for so long, it's finally time to hit somebody else.
Yeah, I worked out outside of lunch and then went to Portman's to get my lunch, and I was just disgusting. I was soaking wet, and they were making sort of comments to me. I said, it's really humid, man. I'm old and it's humid. So it looks like, again, I'm not a physician, but it looks like, again, that's cramping. It's just you wonder, some of these cramps get bad, and it's difficult to return. I remember St. Clair had a kid back in the day who's a good friend of mine now named Rami Nubani, and he was a very, very good football player, played both ways, but he constantly had cramping issues, and they tried everything, and he played everywhere. I mean, he played on special teams, both sides of the ball, but it seemed like every game in the first part of the season he would end up cramping.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I was a ball boy on that team, and Joe Graceffo gave everyone mustard packets to keep in their pockets for whenever that would happen to them. So one exploded one time, and that was the last time I did that.
All right. Tavares has a little time. This time he's going downfield. He's got a man wide open, and thank heavens it was a blown coverage. Dallum thought he had safety help, and I'll tell you what, if there's one guy you don't want to lose, it is number 2, Jackson Pons, and boy, that was just very fortunate for the Panthers.
And he has absolutely lived up to the hype tonight. I think Miami of Ohio Redhawks are really getting a good player. He's kept them in this game both on the offensive and defensive end.
Reminds you a little bit of what Aiden Besselman did on both sides of the ball last year for the Panthers, just really involved in everything.
And they're both built the same way, too. Big, strong kids.
So here we go, a big 3rd and 10 for the Panthers. They're blitzing. The guy's wide open in the flat. Can the Panthers get him to the ground? They can't, and that's going to be the danger of blitzing is you can just dump one off there and get a 15-yard gain, and the Panthers, they took a chance and didn't get there, and easy does it. I mean, that's a little gain for 17 yards and a first down, and now the Knights are in Panther territory.
And Shogun is a real load to bring down, and the further you get into a game, the more you do not want to tackle a kid like that.
Really good point. Here he goes up the middle again. Caron's got him here, but he's still going to, with a forward lean, get about 3 or 4 yards. So, you know, and as they get deeper into Panther territory, you got 4 downs. They're going to keep banging them at us, and again, particularly with tempo.
a fast-paced downhill run game is terrible late in the game for a team.
And he bangs. It's Simchak, the tailback, that time. He got probably 5. He's almost to the lead stick. It's going to be 3rd and 1 here for the Knights. And they are really taking advantage now of the tempo and wearing down the Panther line, who was getting off the ball well. They're going to get a first down there pretty easily with Simchak again. And first down inside the Panther 30.
And Norwin needs to be careful. They were a little bit jittery on that last play. It didn't look like everyone was set, and that can really kill a drive's momentum.
All right, so new set of downs here for the Knights, probably in 4-down territory at this time. They're going to go down the field again. Tavares is looking downfield. It looks like he's fine. Pons. And they're going to call interference, although I'll tell you what, that looked like pretty good coverage, and I didn't think that was really necessarily catchable.
And even if there was contact, Gavin, it was both sides. You know, DBs and receivers hand fight down the field on those go routes consistently. So it really doesn't feel like the ball's bouncing our way right now.
It does not, and you know, as the game progresses and you start getting deeper into the football game, it's what we talked about when a game you sort of expected to win that got off to a great start, the longer it goes where it's a game and you start to get nervous and you start to feel like, you know, it's tough being the favorite in a game like that. So 1st and 15 here as we wind down the 3rd quarter. Here's another handoff. And that was a nice play there. I'm trying to see who that was off. Unsurprisingly, it was Nate Stoll again from his right end, defensive end spot, holding him to a gain of 2. Boy, they are really going fast. There's tempo, and then there's what Norwin's doing right now. They got a slant. He's open. It's Pons, and that's going to be a touchdown. Easy does it, pitch and catch. And Norwin takes the lead with 49 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter.
And he is playing on a different level than pretty much every perimeter player that we've seen tonight. Pons really set the tone with his first touchdown, a long over the middle over route. And there he breaks 2 tackles to take the lead after Norwin being in a 14-0 hole. And Tavares looks like an entirely new player. He has grown up throughout this game, and they are operating on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, it goes to show you. He took his lumps last year. He threw 2 pick sixes in this same game. And kick is up and good, and the Knights 21-14 lead. A bit of a shocker here at Panther Stadium. Let's see what St. Clair can do to respond.
And I got to give, you know, there looks like a small student section for Norwin, and that's a hike. You know, you got to hit the turnpike, 376. That's a serious drive, so good for those kids coming out and supporting their friends.
Absolutely, I love that. Love to see it. Got a shout out from the legendary Ted Barnett, all the way from North Carolina.
Wow.
He's asking if I'm going to do some. He's asking if I'm going to do some Wake Forest games. I'll tell you what, Coach B, if you can pull that off, I will absolutely come down and do that for you.
So I'll give you a good Ted Barnett story. In kindergarten, he was the principal of Baker Elementary School, and for some reason I missed my bus with my next door neighbor. And the 3 of us were the only ones in the school, and we played baseball, like in the front parking lot of Baker until they found a bus to come pick us up. So shout out to Mr. Barnett. I love you.
What a great man. Just one of the many great people that have enriched my Upper St. Clair experience. All right, so let's see if the Panthers can get back on track. If you'd have told me the Panthers after the first 2 drives would not score another point for 2 quarters, I'd have laughed. Here comes Banbury. He's ripping forward. He's across the 40 all the way to the 42-yard line. John Banbury's been a really good spark on special teams for the Panthers here.
He really has, and he's carried the ball well out of the backfield. He's played great on the interior on defense. He has a very bright future for Upper St. Clair. I just hope that the offense goes back to feeding Chambers and Banbury.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I just feel like they've been a little aggressive. It seems like every time they sort of have not even a negative play, but a run that doesn't break at all, they sort of abandon it and go chuck it. And especially in a game like this where it's warm, most of the linemen are playing both ways, you'd figure you'd want to bang it a little bit more.
And this is a real big drive for Upper St. Clair. It's the first possession that they've had this entire game where they're down. They have the ball on the minus 42. They have an opportunity for a short field due to a great return by Banbury. maybe you take a shot here. I mean, you need something to spark the entire offense. And I know Coach Junko's creative. I've been to practice. I've seen some of the trick plays that they have. Do you want to bust that out week 1? No, but, the contrast of that is it forces teams to game plan for it for the remaining 8 weeks of the season.
Well, they already hit on a flea flicker once. That was really the only big play the Panthers have hit, and that was the big splash play in the first half. They've been surprisingly quiet in terms of any downfield passing game. Every pass pretty much since then has been, your kind of quick out, your slant. So maybe you're right, Alex. I mean, maybe the conventional wisdom would be to bang it here where you try to. So John Banbury's down too. I don't know if he's cramping as well.
And it always makes you so nervous when you see a kid, especially one, who's done it all on all 3 phases of the game all night. The last thing you want is somebody to get hurt. And you do breathe a little bit of sigh of relief when it's a cramp. But I will tell you from experience, he'll wake up in the middle of the night, his calves will be cramping, and he'll let out a yelp, and his family will think something's terribly wrong, but he'll just be cramping.
That's legitimately the worst feeling in the world, the calf cramp in the middle of the night. All right, so Hellman, pistol formation again. This is Evan Taylor, the senior. He carts. Oh, what a cut. Boy, beautiful little run by Evan Taylor. He's going to get 10 and a first down. So they're going the opposite route here. They're getting the quick scat back in here.
Well, he was another one his first carry was a touchdown tonight. So I do respect the running back by committee approach, especially when you have a loads of talent in the backfield. But you also have to go with what's working. And, he also has to be a little bit – I'm starting to see a little bit of lean by Taylor in the backfield. He's got to be careful that he's not trying to get too much of a head start.
So that's going to be the last play of the third quarter, about a 3-yard gain there from Taylor. And we're going to start the fourth quarter with the Panthers heading in the end zone. I think they scored both touchdowns in, but trailing 21-7, a little bit of a surprise. So, Alex, do you think here – do you try to maybe stick with the run game, run it for, kind of keep 4 downs here until you feel like Norwin's really committed to stop it, or do you try to suck them in? What do you think?
It's tough to argue, but at some point the clock does become an issue. And, yes, we have 12 minutes, but 12 goes to 8, 8 goes to 4, and then all of a sudden it's a tie game and Norwin has the ball and they're able to do a 4-minute drill. And you just have to be careful. And you got to talk to your quarterback. I know Coach Junko played quarterback for, Upper St. Clair, University of Akron, so he understands that feeling when things maybe aren't going as well as they were during a game. And that's truthfully the toughest quagmire to really work yourself out of, just because, if you have success early on, you're completing a lot of passes, then all of a sudden things become stagnant. You don't want to press too much to try to get things going again. So I think the open dialogue between Coach Junko, Ethan Hellman, Julian Dallum, if he gets some snaps, he has to start picking some plays, get some easy completions for Ethan so that he can get comfortable and make a big play.
Yeah, Dallum's the guy I feel like I want to watch here. I feel like if there's an interesting way to get Jules the ball, whether it's a bubble screen or an end around or something, that may be something to watch. It's sort of a safe play, but also gets it to the guy who may be your best playmaker. There's the quick out again, and that's Peter Engel, the senior. And he's going to get upfield close to the first down. Not with that spot. Guess it's going to be 3rd and 1. I thought he was closer to the 38 myself. But
yeah, and I'm seeing 2 different spots by the refs on different sides of the field. So now, 3rd and 1, if you don't get it, you have an opportunity.
Here comes Taylor. He's through, hits the hole hard there, gets about 3 or 4. First down, Panthers to the Norwin 36, and this drive's a little more like it here, Alex, so far.
Absolutely, and I'm keeping an eye out for Pons, number 2. If he starts to cheat up because of success in the run game, that may be your opportunity to go over the top.
Yeah, he's sort of done that. They have a lot of defensive backs in the game at all times. I feel like they play 5, almost as a base here. And some of those guys, he and Denny in particular, do tend to cheat up. Oh, there it is. There's the double move, and he beat him. Oh, it was almost there. Boy, did he cover that fast. he recovered beautifully because that was exactly what you talked about, that double move there, and he had him beat.
The throw location was a little off. He needs to let the receiver work outside, throw that away from the safety help. The throw was a little bit inside, which allowed Pons to get across the field, make the hit, and force the incompletion.
It was a good idea, and it was there. It would have been tough because the safety got over so fast. But, all right, 2nd and 10. Uh-oh, low snap. Here comes Taylor, though. Gets it upfield. So they got about, let's say, 5 there or so, which is a pretty good gainer here. Not maybe 4. Okay. That looked like it could have broken for a lot. They just didn't quite seal the outside. All right, so St. Clair had been going tempo. Now they're going to slow it down. They looked for a hard count and did not get it. Now Taylor moves sidecar. Hellman's back. It's that out pattern again, but unfortunately that's not going to get to the stick. That's going to be at least 2 yards short.
And I think at this point in the game, this is definitely 4-down territory.
No question about it, Alex. It's about 3rd and let's say 2, a long 2, and maybe even 3. And now I'll be very interested to see what the Panthers come up with here. Oh, and they hard counted him again, and unbelievable.
And a lot of, in this style of offense, you're able to do that because the signals come in from the sideline. And if you get the signal hard count, there is no play. There's nowhere for the linemen, the receivers, the back to go. So they just sit there on their heels. And on 4th down and 3, those interior linemen are doing everything they can to get leverage and push the offensive line backwards. So great job by Coach Junko. Great job by the line, too.
Yeah, they put Pham back in the game now. He looks like he's back in healthy here. So here's Taylor. He cut, and unfortunately, that's going to be a pre-snap penalty on the Panthers, and going to have to back him up 5, which is not what you wanted to see when we were trying to run the football.
And was that Taylor leaning forward like we had been talking about?
I don't know. I didn't see it, Alex, to be fair.
When do we get instant replay capabilities up here? It's been a couple years. I figure we could get that tech by now.
You'd figure. I mean, these guys are so good at everything. You'd figure how they get away. Getting some nice compliments from you, Alex, from Lauren Anderson, class of 97, my guy.
Thank you.
Glad you got home in time to watch the second half. Hopefully you're going to bring us luck, buddy. All right, they're rolling right.
Oh.
Here comes. Oh, boy, I think Pons got there again. If he didn't get there, Phillips had all day ahead there.
And one thing I'm noticing on these sprint outs, Hellman isn't getting any depth, which we mentioned his shoulders earlier. He's throwing across his body because he's running parallel to the defense. He needs to take that first step on the sprint out and get some depth so he can throw the ball downhill.
All right, 2nd and 15. Panthers going to have to get a little creative here. I'd like to see Dallum. I'd like to see them get the ball in Dallum's hands.
I agree. He's been pretty silent the rest of the night.
There he is.
Just like that.
But unfortunately, whether they weren't on the same page or not, you want to give Dallum the ball with a chance to run where he's so dangerous. I have no problem with a 5-yard gain there at all, but whether they were just not on the same page there, he needs room to run.
And I would like to see St. Clair utilize and exploit how the corners and safeties are playing off of the 2x2s. You can see that player over Julian isn't pressed up on him, and if they ran a go route on the outside and an out route, he has the leverage and he can win.
Hellman across the middle.
That was a miscommunication. They had
2 guys open.
2 ships passing in the night.
Boy, again, some of this is expected in week 1, but it just seems like they are not on the same page at all in terms of, quarterback, receiver, all that stuff. So, interesting. It looks like Bennett Henderson is going to come in to kick a field goal. It's not a gimme either. As good as Bennett is, this is a 41-yard kick, particularly given St. Clair's had some protection issues in special teams.
And the wind has picked up.
The wind has picked up. Although this should be with the wind, I would think. Snap is true from Wells. Kick is up. Kick is good. Bennett Henderson right down the middle. And there's a reason he was named the #1 kicker in the area. He's as good as I've seen, and that was simple. And the Panthers are now within 4, 21-17 with 8:47 to play in the football game.
And I did not see the young man who was snapping the ball, but that operation was very smooth. So shout out to the long snapper, shout out to the holder. That was a very clean operation. And I know that all of the staff at the Ray Guy kicking camp would have been very proud.
I'm assuming it's Braden Wells, number 15. He was the snapper last year, and I thought he was excellent. But, yeah, everything was good there. And so now it's big time for the Panther defense again, and it'll be interesting to see how they adjust to what Norwin was doing. They were getting great pressure up the field from their front four or front three, depending on the situation. Norwin sort of countered by banging it at them and then running tempo, and see how St. Clair can adjust back.
And what worries me is that what they did earlier in the game, bracketing Jackson Pons, doing so, all that does is take a player out of the box, and so you're playing man down, and it enables Norwin to get that downhill run game that was so successful in the last drive.
So they go with the short kick here from Bennett. Good tackle from Van Helmen, and they're going to be down about the 22 or so. The one area I'm going to give Norwin a ton of credit here is, Alex, week one, not one turnover. I was talking about the next turnover being a big play. Norwin has not turned over the ball once. No, not a bad exchange, not a fumble, not an interception with a sophomore quarterback. Pretty impressive in week one, in my opinion.
Especially with the snaps being so low out of the gun. You know, you got to give Tavares credit. He's handled that very well. I mean, I guess you're used to that throughout camp, but you want to make sure that you don't make a mental error where you go down and pick it up and you put your knee down or anything like that.
I've been very impressed with Tavares tonight. He's handled everything excellently. And they're banging it again, going up the middle, and that's big 26 again. And Shogun's been an animal. And, you know, they can do that. You know, if they're going to get 3-4 yards, they can do that up the field.
And I think I have our Mason Chambers answer, Gavin. He's on the bike right now. So that's probably due to some form of cramping. And it looks like we might have
another cramp.
Another one.
In a way, it's a positive for St. Clair because they can rest their defense every time, and instead of Norwin being able to go tempo. But, you know, they're on their heels a little bit on the defensive side of the ball after really starting the third quarter strong.
Yeah, and that kick by Henderson was huge. You know, anytime you have a kick plus 30, 35 yards at the high school level, that is by no means automatic. And so for him to drill a 41-yarder and keep St. Clair within striking distance, obviously a field goal doesn't tie it, but, you know, a touchdown does do more than just tie at this point.
I'll tell you what, bud. You know, I was hoping this was going to be a little easier. This has been bad on my stress levels for week one.
It looks like the player that was down for Norwin was Harrison Jordan, senior offensive lineman. Let's hope he's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're sort of assuming de facto right now it's cramping, but you know there are magnitudes and levels, and sometimes you just can't come back.
And one piece of this too is obviously you have depth on the perimeter and you rotate a lot of guys, but with these cramps, do you have depth on the offensive and defensive line? You know, do you have that 6th, 7th guy that's ready to step in like Norwin needs right now?
Shogun again up the pipe. Van Helmen came in hard there as Brett Minor came and helped out. So he only got about a yard there. Now we're 3rd and 5, Alex, and this is a little bit of a different situation. To me, I have to think Jackson Pons, this is going to be Jackson Pons territory.
Yeah, and he's at the top of the screen right now, so.
Here comes the Panthers. Can they get there? It's out to the side. Oh, nice play. Who was that on the D-back? Bryce Jones. Bryce Jones got in there to break it up. Really nice break on the football from the sophomore corner.
And now when St. Clair gets the ball, someone's going to have to make a play on the perimeter. It's been kind of a committee-type situation, whereas in past years you've had your David Pantelis, you've had your Aiden Besselman, you've had all sorts of big players that are able to get downfield and make a tough catch when the game's on the line. We need to see someone step up and do that now.
Totally agree. And this was not as good of a punt. This is going to be returnable. This is Evan Taylor, the senior. He does a nice job cutting. That's probably the best field position the Panthers have had all the way up to the their own 48. This is a good place to start a drive, and hopefully the Panthers can take advantage. We've got 7:39 to go in the football game. Panthers trail the Knights 21-17.
And I got to give a shout out to our tech team, because the feedback that I'm getting tonight is that our audio is the best it's been over the 3 years. So shout out to them. They're making it happen.
Todd and Ray, all right, boys. Great work. Audio's the best it's been. You guys rule.
And Nico.
And my man Nico, obviously. My man. All right. Here come the Panthers, and we got a bit of a timeout. What's the issue here? Somebody cramping on the sidelines for Norwin. Wow, amazing. It is humid today. All right. Oh, shout out from Jack Greenberg. He was at the first half with his son, Bo. They just moved back to the township, and now he's watching from home. He made it pretty long. My son would have been way in bed. There's Mason Chambers. As Alex said, he's the guy you got to ride, and he's going to get 11. He's going to get 12. He's going to get a first down for the Panthers.
And this is it. If St. Clair can get a few yards a clip in this run game, it's going to milk the clock. Norwin has 2 timeouts left, something to keep an eye on going into this fourth quarter.
Well, you'd love to be able to keep pounding it at him, wear him down. Here's Chambers. Oh, blitz up the middle. Oh, no, that wasn't a blitz. That was the big – that's the huge kid. That's Michael Strutt, 295. I mean, Norwin has 2 or 3 enormous kids, 300-pound kids.
I will tell you from experience, I've had a 295-pound kid sit on my chest in my parents' basement, within my own family, so it never feels good.
Yeah, Ian's enormous. Ian is enormous. All right, 2nd and 11 here. Panthers in Norwin territory. Hellman back to throw. He's going to scramble. He's got some time. He's going to turn it up. He's going to get about 5. He's going to get about half of it.
And you could tell he wanted to make that throw across the middle again late, rolling to his left. I'm glad he decided to take the safe play, take 4 or 5 yards, live to play again on 3rd down.
I mean, Ethan Hellman's a fabulous athlete. It's one of those things where he's scrambling to keep his eyes down the field to throw, whereas Jules wants to run there. And, there is a difference, but it's they're both dangerous in those situations in their own way. All right, 3rd and 5 or 6. Here comes, fakes it to Chambers, throws, and they got about half of it.
And that was pretty close to being a bad play. It looked like on the fake, Chambers had run into Hellman. He bobbled it a little bit, but luckily he was able to recover.
I feel like they can get a little further down the field on some of these out routes, Alex. It's like they're running them a couple yards short of the sticks just to get half of it.
So we got a big 4th down coming up,
4th
Gav.
and 2. It'll be interesting. Because Norman's been sucking guys forward, I mean, you'd think, you bang it and get 2 here, but those linebackers have been shooting the gap pretty good. Now it's a sidecar here for Chambers. And they moved. Wow. That's a big, big mistake for the Panthers. From 4th and 2 to 4th and 7. I still think you go for it here, Alex, or am I wrong?
Probably. The way Norwin's been moving the ball over the past quarter or so, I don't think you have a choice. I think this might be a pretty pivotal point in the game.
Yeah, because you may not get the ball back.
And these receivers have to know that any route run, they have to get their hips past the sticks. They cannot come up short.
Yeah, it's just been a lot of routes have been about 2 yards short of the sticks in this half. I still think you look for number 2 if you can find him. Hellman's got time. He throws across the middle. Oh, great catch. It's Peter Engel, the senior. And you go to the veteran, and Peter Engel with a tough catch in traffic. That was a dart from Hellman.
And to make an in-breaking throw like that on 4th down and 7, he hitched directly into it, stuck it right where he could, put it on his body, didn't leave him exposed. That was a next-level throw by Ethan Hellman.
Yeah, that's a gutsy play by both guys. New set of downs for the Panthers. Here comes Chambers up the middle. He's going. He's still going. Look at big Brock Gillespie push him down the field. He's going to get about 6 inside the Norwin Knights 15. I like his forward push right now, Alex. And now Corey's coming in at the tailback.
And now you begin to take a look at the clock. If they're able to get the first down without scoring, then you start to kind of take a look at things.
All right, nope, they fake it to Corey. Unfortunately, that was blown up completely. Hellman did a pretty good job almost getting back to the line of scrimmage, but boy, they are running the ball well. It is a little surprising they're trying to, I don't know, maybe that was a quarterback run.
That was the zone read, Gavin, and the way Norwin's playing it is it's what's called chase and replace. It's where the defensive end immediately bends with the running back, and the outside linebacker loops around, and he has the quarterback.
All right, so we went from 2nd and 4 to 3rd and 6, unfortunately, here, and now it's a big play here for the Panthers. Hellman's back. He's got the out route again. Engel does a great job making a guy miss and getting the first down. Peter Engel made 2 big plays on this drive, did the senior, and the Panthers are inside the Knights' 10.
So now we have 4:20 left in goal, so pretty much everything is 4 down from this point on.
No question.
Once you get within this time period, you don't really have a choice. I think with Corey, you got a young back in. You got to make sure that you take care of the ball.
So Corey's up the middle. He gets about 2, down to about the 6, almost to the 5, and Chambers now coming back in, which is sort of what I expected. So we got about 2nd and maybe 5.5 here. The clock is running at 4 minutes to go here. Panthers trail 21-17. Well, if you're one of those guys who loves cinema, we're getting that tonight in an abundance here. This is certainly an exciting football game.
I wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of pick play down with Dallum.
So sidecar, this is Phillips in motion. Hellman's rolling left. He lobs it up. Oh, boy, that looked like he was being held.
And there was a lot of contact down there, but it's – and they did try some kind of smash concept. You saw Dallum run the whip route. He looks like he's running a slant, whips back out, and then over the top you have the back corner throw, and it was close.
Maybe because it wasn't a clean play, but Bywalski was getting held out of his break there, and I thought given the interference call they called in the corner earlier, they might get that call. They did not. So – well, Alex, we got 2 downs to get this in the end zone here. Unfortunately, some of the out routes and things that have been kind of easy up the field get a lot tougher when there's not very much room to cover.
Yeah, you don't get as much backpedal by the defensive backs. And St. Clair does still have 3 timeouts, but you don't want to think. You don't want to think like that. You want to be able to punch it in now.
And they got too much time, unfortunately.
And Gavin, this goes back to when the sun was still up and we were talking about week 1. And we're talking about all of the penalties. There's no play clock in practice. Obviously, you try to emulate one as best you can. But, it starts not on your coach's start in the real game. It starts when the refs signal, and it moves a lot faster when you're in the heat of the moment on Friday night.
All right, so 3rd and 11 is a lot more difficult of a situation. Maybe you look for half of it here, but I'll tell you what, if you got a receiver breaking open, man, you got to try to get it because 4th down is a scary proposition. Now they're calling a timeout. I don't know what happened.
The clock got down to 00 again, and that's just poor clock management. Coming out of a penalty, you get a reset, and you have not shown any type of route, any type of run. You can pretty much say, hey, we're going to run the same play. We haven't shown anything. To get a situation like this is pretty unacceptable.
Well, we got a shout out from a state champion fullback, the real deal Neil Applebaum, who is listening to the live stream at the Minnesota State Fair. That's a first for me.
We've had a few countries. We've had Japan and Middle East. But
we have had that.
Yeah, but Minnesota State Fair, that's a first. And Neil usually sends me a note on every holiday, so I appreciate you, Neil.
The Applebaum family is absolutely top shelf. Shout out to Mrs. Reed. Love you, Mrs. Reed. All right, so 3rd and 11. Again, the guy I want to see here, if you can, is find a way to get the ball to Julian Dallum. It is surprising to me, given his playmaking ability, that they have not found ways to get the ball in his hands.
And you're one-on-one. I would love for St. Clair to utilize his leverage, his speed, his athleticism, get him into the corner, run the smash concept to the bottom of the field.
And, whoa, how about that? Yeah, there they called it. Absolutely. And in this day and age, that's a hit to the head on a helpless receiver. That's automatic.
And I know Pons is a heck of a player, but he has been going for that big hit all night. You saw it with Engel down on the sideline earlier. He got real excited. Perhaps he's a little bit too jacked up first week of the season, but that is a crucial call, and he could have further consequences for a hit like that in today's game.
So they called pass interference as opposed to the – I'll tell you what, I don't like that call because the pass interference was really nothing. That play was covered well. The call that should have been called was the hit to the head on a helpless receiver late. But whatever, it ends up being the same thing because it's an automatic first down.
Well,
so.
and fresh set of downs, and
Well, it's saying it's still third down, but that doesn't make any sense to me.
yeah,
Well, how is that not an automatic first down?
that I'm not.
Well, it should have been a personal foul, first of all. This is a really big call for the Panthers if it's not an automatic first down.
And it looks like Coach Junko's out there trying to get an explanation right now.
So hopefully they'll get it situated. I was always under the understanding that a pass interference was an automatic first down, but again, that's the distinction between not getting the personal foul versus the pass interference. That's a big call.
And I want to give a shout out real quick to someone who takes credit for getting me into school, receiver Austin Everett. I think that was one of the first things he told my wife when he met her. So Austin, I hope you're doing well, man. And yes, we do need to get together soon. It's great to hear from you.
Austin the boss. He and Taylor are two of the greats. I love them. All right, now it's 3rd and 5, I guess. So I didn't know the rule. Here's Mason Chambers. Can he get to the outside? Can he get to the corner? Oh, he didn't quite get there. Jackson Pons with a great tackle to save it. And 4th and 1.
Okay, so we have to kind of think ahead here, Gavin. 4th down and 1, you're obviously going for it. But if you don't get it, you still have 3:20 with 2 timeouts left. And I think it's important to keep that in mind. But I do think you need to go downhill to Chambers right now.
Yeah, I mean, you got to bang it in, right? And it's going to be easy. Hellman in for the Panther touchdown.
But we have a flag.
Oh, no, there's a flag down.
He took his helmet. Uh-oh. Okay.
Well, I don't know what the call is. Is it a sideline warning? Are you kidding me? Helping the runner. You see that on every play of the game. I mean, if that's a call, you could call that any time you wanted to call it.
So it's a 5-yard penalty?
I'm actually in disbelief on that one. I literally see that probably 100 times a season, and I've never seen that call. That's not called anymore. I mean, that's absolutely ludicrous. I know I'm an incessant homer on these broadcasts, but I can't even believe
this
that.
This is the live stream for the alums and the people. We're allowed to be a little bit biased.
So that's 2 calls in a row I don't even understand. So, okay. Again, I'm a basketball coach. What do I know? But it looks like they're going to get a delay of game penalty. Don't they have to reset the clock, or they're going to get another delay of game? No, they got the snap off just in time. Now what do we got? Coach Junko's out on the hash right now. This is this is unbelievable.
Well, he really has to be careful. I know this is super frustrating, but he can't afford. Okay.
Problem is they only have one timeout left now. If you don't score here, all of a sudden it gets tight. Oh, my. No penalty there, but it's a timeout, so they only got one timeout left. Oh, man, I'll tell you what, Alex. Got to give a shout-out to Mrs. Weezy, who's watching from North Carolina, my 7th grade teacher, one of the great teachers I ever had. And she was hard on me, and one of the reasons why my English skills actually improved well enough.
And then I want to give a shout-out to a new St. Clair fan, U.S. Air Force pilot in New Mexico, Dan Alada. Thank you, Dan, for your support and your service. So, in that entire span, Gavin, we were sitting here what looks like 2 seconds ago on the play clock, and St. Clair had 3 timeouts. They're on the 1-yard line, and now all of a sudden it's 4th down, 5 to go, and they have 1 timeout left.
So, okay, this has been a big turn of events for the Panthers. Let's see if they can overcome it. Hellman throws. Touchdown,
Whoa.
Charlie Bywalski, the big throw and catch. And with 3:14 left to play, the Panthers have taken the lead. Boy, and you can't say enough about Ethan Hellman's poise. There's been a lot of chances in this game for the Panthers to sort of lose their composure. But when it's mattered, Ethan Hellman has stepped up and made throws.
And that was a tight throw. There was not a lot there, but boy, did he put the timing, rhythm, and location necessary to make that throw.
All right, Bennett. Kick is up. Kick is good. Panthers with a 24-21 lead with 3:14 to go. And hold on to your seats, ladies and gentlemen. We still got a lot going on here. This is I'll tell you what, Alex, I don't want to belabor the point, but I'm glad they didn't end up losing on the pushing call, because this game's been better than that, and I didn't want that to really sort of overshadow this. If Norwin goes down the field and scores, okay, that's a legitimate. I didn't want that call to be sort of the thing that we think about and talk about.
And it's pretty tough too. How many times you remember the Reggie Bush push with Matt Leinart against Notre Dame during the Brady Quinn days and that whole controversy, and then they now say you can do it. You see the Philadelphia Eagles do it all the time, and Jalen Hurts.
It's a design play.
But where is the subjectivity affecting the game? Like, that could have really affected the outcome of the game. It still might, depending on the time allotted. But, hopefully St. Clair can get a quick stop.
So Jacobo's back to kicking off, and he boomed that one. That is something. Jacobo almost gets it out of the end zone. So, okay, we got 3:14 to play. And what do the Knights have in store here? I'll tell you what, Tavares, I put the ball in his hands. He's been fabulous tonight.
Tavares DuPont has been pretty much automatic any time that Tavares has had time. But Nate Stoll really comes out to play during moments like this, and hopefully he continues to get pressure.
The good I turned and looked at the Trib Live guys after that call, and they were aghast too. So it's not just me being a homer.
It is the refs week 1 as well. We have
no
to
question.
remember that.
I hate to be too critical. Honestly, I don't even like to talk about the officiating. But
full disclosure, we are a biased broadcast.
Oh, no question. Oh boy, Van Helmen got it with his left hand and almost deflected right to John Banbury. So the Panthers are in sort of a strange formation here. They've gone to 2 down linemen with Marco in the middle and Van Helmen as a rush end. And then they've put, it looks like, a second linebacker in the game, which is Dante Corey, number 7.
Yeah, and you see a lot of teams do this at the higher levels, just trying to get that hybrid safety linebacker in as extra speed.
And there's a blitz, and Dante Corey was in there. Oh, and nice stuff. Charlie Bywalski almost caught it. So unfortunately, Nate Stoll lost his helmet. And Bobby Fleckenstein, who I don't think has played on defense tonight, is going in now as a pass rusher. He's done a great job at the right tackle position. But
and the past couple plays, St. Clair's been able to get the hands up and bat it down. I would tell the defensive linemen, keep doing it. It's working.
Ethan Hellman's in a D-back now. He's in the slot here. There's Hellman. Oh, and it's intercepted. Oh no, he dropped it. That was Gianni DeSora. I don't think he expected that to sail to him.
I'm not so sure I love putting Hellman in at DB at this point in the game.
Well, they put Fleckenstein in to rush the passer who's not played on defense at all. This must be their specialty package.
Well, it looks like a nickel or dime package where you're adding extra length, depth, and speed on the defensive backfield.
Got to find pawns right now, and got to hope you can get to the passer. It's 4th down. No, that looked like they moved. They did. They're going to back it up. It's now going to be 4th and 15. Now, looking ahead, if Panthers do get a stop here, there is still 3 minutes left, and Norwin still has a timeout. So it's not like it's game over if they get a stop here, but this is a big play.
They pretty much need 2 first downs. That 2 first downs will force Norwin's hand with the timeout, and then they'll be able to take some kneel downs.
Wonder if you can get it looks like the coaches, Coach Donati, have been pretty aggressive in sending linebackers, even in sort of a 3rd and 4th and long situation. It'll be interesting to see if either Banbury or Corey blitz here. They're at least faking it, and Dallum even from the corner. Yes, Dante Corey is coming. Nate Stoll again. It's Nate Stoll. They've not been able to block him tonight, and Marco Carone as well. And boy, has Nate Stoll been absolutely fantastic tonight. Just an absolute animal.
I know it was rough for a while, but that was pretty much exactly what St. Clair needed to do. Now, there is still a good amount of time. Norwin still has 1 timeout left.
A good amount of time. 2:55 is a lot of time in a football game with a timeout left. If I'm the Panthers, obviously you're running the ball, but I'm running the ball to try to get a score. You got to have ball security, though.
Now, my question is, did someone take a timeout? Oh, that was 4th down.
Yeah, turnover on downs. Man, if we had a game ball tonight, I'd probably give it to Nate Stoll. He's been absolutely in the backfield every play. This is John Banbury. Cuts to the outside, switches the ball, trying to get upfield.
That was an old school Pro B formation for Mr. Render here.
I'll tell you what, Alex, as Norwin takes their last time out here, I was at Pitt football practice on Thursday, and I was talking to Coach LaSala, and he loves to talk about high school hoops, and he asked me, what St. Clair had, and I said, Coach, Gabe Hoy had a great career for you at Pitt. I said, we got a kid who's a junior who's going to be better. I said, he's one of the best linemen I've already seen, and his name is Nate Stoll. And he said, all right, thanks, Gav, I'll watch. I hope they send him this film tonight because Nate Stoll is a beast.
He would truthfully be my MVP of this game. There was no point where he let up. His motor was running all game, and he made a ton of plays. In the defensive backfield, he really was integral on that left side of the offensive line in the run game. And so, hopefully St. Clair can punch us in, put the game away, and I can go home and go to bed.
Yeah, that would be nice. This is past my bedtime. That's what happens when you have kids. I also shout out to a Pitt academic All-American Upper St. Clair grad, Connor Lee, who his picture was up on the wall of the football complex, and I sent it to him, and it just created a deluge of insults because he had this Supercuts haircut going. It was fabulous. All right, 2nd and 9 here at the Norwin 10. This is Mason Chambers, so this is well blocked. He's still on his feet. He's battling. He's at the 5 and the 4. Boy, if he'd have just waited a little bit till Gillespie could have gotten that guy, I think he might have scored, but that's a really nice gain in this situation. And the good news, Alex, is they can get a first down here.
They absolutely can, and right now, doing a little math, it looks like that St. Clair will be able to snap this ball with about 1:50 left on the clock.
So Chambers is banged up. Looks like John Banbury's coming back in the game here. The clock is running. 2 to play. I wonder if the Panthers will use their last time out here. No, they're going. This is Banbury. He's cutting up the middle. He's leaning. That may be a first down, Alex.
I think it is. It looks like he's
that's
inside
a first
the
down. I
1
think
yard
that's
line.
the ball game.
Now, you always feel for these backs in this situation because
Are they going to kneel on it?
are they going to kneel it or but truthfully, you really have to because there's 140 left. Let's say Norwin gets a quick touchdown, onside kick. It just leaves too
I think
much
you
to
kneel
the
on it.
imagination. You have to kneel it as much as I would like to sneak it in for a quick touchdown.
Because then they could score real fast and do an onside kick. I mean, I think it's the right percentage play.
It is. It's 100% win versus a rather selfish mindset.
Oh, absolutely. You'd love to get John Banbury a touchdown here. So then I think you're right, Alex. That's exactly what's happening. That's a smart play. That's the bench knowing situational football.
And so it looks like
One more snap will do it.
this will be it.
So, Alex, I'll tell you what. Obviously not a Picasso tonight, but at the end of the day, there are two things that you can really take away as a positive here. When you face adversity the first time, you never know how a team's going to respond, and you saw it on that last drive, really the last two drives, and some big plays, a fourth down conversion or two. And the other thing is the mistakes are correctable mistakes. It wasn't like they were, and they didn't, they faced a team that didn't hand them the game, and they found a way to win.
Absolutely. And anytime you face a player like Jackson Pons, who's heading to play Division I football, teams are going to make plays. The teams are well coached as well, but I'm just glad that this team was able to overcome adversity and get the win.
So Mark Roy is very upset. He thinks the line is minus 8.5, and he's losing money on this game. So, Roy, I'm not going to lie. I'm glad you lost. I would be rooting against you if you were gambling. All right, so our final score here on senior night is the Panthers 24, the Norwin Knights 21. Congratulations to everybody involved. Alex, your final thoughts?
I think this is a great win to have week one. I think they certainly gave us our money's worth in terms of how late we were tuned into the game. It looked like it was going to be a blowout from the start. I think so long as St. Clair stays healthy, they're going to have a lot to build upon. They have that foundation on the offensive line and defensive line, and I think a lot of the guys on the perimeter grew up tonight. And that's going to be important going forward. You need to develop that perimeter attack with these more inexperienced guys, and I think it'll be good going forward.
Alex, thanks for being here, man. I really appreciate you joining me.
Always a pleasure.
And I think it's North Hills at home next week, so I think we'll be back here next week on Friday. For Alex Park, this is Gavin Williams signing off. Congrats to the Panthers.